Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm Jono, the eternal optimist, and how you doing? How's everybody going? It's already Sunday. My goodness, time goes by so quickly. just a moment. I can get rid of it at the push of a button. welcome. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Welcome, Ludwig, Hilly. How you guys been? How are you? Yeah, it's Sunday, which means it's our community night. And man, this is episode 7. Can you believe it? This story is still going after 7 episodes. I'm amazed. I didn't think it was going to go that long, to be honest. I really did not think it was going to go for that long. But yeah, let's get those traditionals out the way. So, thank you, Hector and Maddie M, for your support on the Golden Wings. Everybody in the Noble and Snow Wings. And of course, all you fine people that come by for some laughs. Let's see. We have to be getting close now. Really. We're already in our 50s. Our character is like 55 or something like that. And we've had a 500-year time jump. So, you know, we're rebuilding the empire. I mean, obviously there are these new threats that are emerging, but I mean, we got to be getting close to the end. 7 streams already. Hey, Hector, how you doing? How are you? Yeah, I was chatting with Nick earlier today, and I was also playing with Business Casual Sauron. Business Casual Sauron and I were playing some Warhammer Darktide. We might stream it at some point. I want to try and do some more collabs this November. Yeah, Nick and I, we were able to get Nick's computer up and running. We replaced a new motherboard, so everything is going well for Nick. Yeah, his PC's been down for the past few days. So, yeah, it's good to see Nick back up and running. Hey, Lael, welcome. Doing all right. How about you? I'm okay. An's had to go on a business trip, so I'm not gonna see her until next year. Yeah, I know. It's okay. It's just gonna be boys' night every night for the next few months. It's okay. Yeah. She's going on a business trip. There's like a big company meeting like between branches in different countries and stuff. And at the same time, she's got a wedding coming up. So she's gonna go to the business meeting and then spend time with a friend's wedding. And yeah, so I'm okay. It was a little bit emotional this morning, I'll admit. Like, I went all the way to the airport with her and everything. That's rough. Yeah. But you know, she'll be back at the beginning of next year. I'm gonna go visit my family. I'm gonna go visit my family in December. So we're gonna be streaming a whole bunch of Switch games in December, which is why I want to try and do a lot of collabs this month. So I can do a whole bunch of collabs this month. So when I'm with my family, I'll be playing probably the Pokemon games, because I can't believe I'm a big fan of Pokemon and we haven't played a single Pokemon stream in 2.5 years of this channel streaming. Not a single Pokemon game. Unbelievable. But yeah, I hope you're doing well, Lael. Last night was so much fun. Like, I really am enjoying Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, sweet. Hopefully Nick's PC fans don't get jammed with feathers. Yeah. Hey, my computer is holding up. It's doing its best. It's doing all right. So, yeah, got to catch them all. Exactly. I have a lot of Pokemon. They did, like, for its 20th anniversary, they gave away a different mythical every month of the year. So they gave away 12 mythicals. So I ended up getting a whole bunch of like mythical Pokemon on my 3DS, and I moved them across to the Pokemon Home. So yeah, at some point, like I want to fight some of my VTuber friends. I want to do some Pokemon battles so you guys can see the teams that I've made over the years. Me too. Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3 was hilarious. Oh, I've played a lot of D&D before, but I've never played a bard. I'll be honest, this is my first time playing a bard in a D&D setting, so I'm still getting used to it. I mean, I usually play a sorcerer, to be fair, like usually a sorcerer or an archer. So those are the two I usually go with. But yeah, I thought a bard would be fun and on brand. But yeah, let's see, where are we with regards to the story? We have gotten rid of the politicians. We've rebuilt the empire. We sort of kind of went into a relationship with the girl, but we broke it off because, yeah, she wants to stick with her career. We'll go to the gaming room. Hey, Lord Peace, welcome. How you doing? Yeah, we're gonna continue the story tonight. Oh, right. So we have rebuilt the Navy after capturing the North with the Wendigos. And now we're gonna be facing off against the fish people. That was it. Yeah. You guys decided at the very end that I was going to lead this fight against the fish armies, the fish people from the back, because I am getting a bit old. This character is the protagonist is what, 55 years old now? I'm good, and you? Yeah, I'm good. I just had dinner, and I also have some liquid courage here. And I got myself a drink so that because obviously narrating a story is quite heavy on the throat. So, but yeah, we're good. Lord Peace, this is the it's a choose your own adventure story that we've been playing for almost 2 months now. It's kind of ridiculous. I think we're near the end. We gotta be near the end. All right, so let me just transition to the music, and we will begin as soon as I... There we go. All right. So we're about to go into battle against the fish people, and chat voted to lead from the back. So, while you may still have many years ahead of you, the days of your prime are starting to fade. Perhaps you need to start accepting the fact that your days of charging first into battle are gone, and probably should be. Your mind is more important for running the empire than your sword or arm, or even your battle magic at this point. 2 months already? God, time flies. I know, right? We're on episode 7, so that's 7 weeks. There's also the fact that it's true. You don't relish the idea of being on a boat. You decide to that you're going to sit this one out. A week goes by, and business in the Empire continues as usual, but you hear nothing from the large fleet you sent out. One of the faster messenger ships should have at least come back to give a report by now. Another week goes by, and you know something is terribly wrong. There has been no word back from your fleet. Naturally, the families of the soldiers and sailors left on this mission are very upset. True that their lives are always in potential danger, but everyone labored under the impression that this would be a quick mix-up with the Island League and then heading back home. Oh, right, the fish people have some kind of like brain control magic, you know, sort of like Cthulhu, like the ancient ones. Everyone who goes to these islands becomes bewitched by them as like sirens. Yeah. Unless there's another 1,000-year time skip. My goodness. It'd become a sci-fi at that point. Okay. Even if there were losses, it would be acceptable. But as it stands, nobody knows exactly what happened. They're all just gone. All of them. Like the waters just swallowed them up, and for all anyone knows, maybe it has. Such mystery is frightening, especially when you're getting more sightings of fish people now off the coast of Nalen. These fish people have also started outright attacking orcish settlements near the shores of Kuala. It's only been a matter of time before they start attacking Nalen as well. Doesn't take long before you've not only got raids from the coast, but also rabble-rousing from the orcs. Warlord Sprog has been actively condemning you for failing to eliminate this threat like you were supposed to, and begins claiming that the orcs have been taking the brunt of the attacks. He also openly says to any and all who will listen that they would be better off on their own. Naturally, when you hear about this treason talk, you have several eyes sent to go bring him in. He succeeds in slaying 5 of them before escaping into the arid wilderness with several followers. Your inability to fend off the fish people properly, the loss of your entire fleet, and the panicked population, and now an orc rebellion in the making. You know you have dark days ahead. Oh my goodness, everything's falling apart. Have a great day, everybody. I'll be disappearing into the Shadow Realm. No worries, Ludwig. Thanks for popping by. Hope you have a fantastic evening. Year 552. Being a tyrant is one thing, but being one who can't protect his territory and is inefficient is even worse so when the troubles start piling up. You decide you couldn't afford to just sit back and command anymore. You had to take direct action and lead from the front like you did before. Getting the population back in line took a bit of doing from the eyes, but it was done. The orcs were a bigger problem and a costly one. Warlord Sprog continued to incite your orc population to the point where Kuala and parts of Rask were hostile territory. It's about a year before you personally slew Orc Sprog in combat. Wow, this is going really fast. Like, a lot of stuff is happening. The damage was done, however. They razed several towns. Even Regnick in Arat was destroyed. They suspect that Edelith might have had something to do with that. Wow, one of the cities fell? Okay, no, red flags. I think we may be in a death route because this is going way too fast. Probably secretly funding or helping Sprog somehow and got spies into in the city to lower the gates. You also had no more orc population to use as soldiers anymore, and those that lived took to the wilderness and continued to be a nuisance. It's a waste of resources and manpower that, quite frankly, you couldn't afford to lose. During the whole time that was happening, you couldn't really effectively combat the fish people threat, who continued to raid the coast in much greater force. Some have been so bold as to even create camps along the shores of Kuala. Most of Naelin's port towns were still fairly well defended in the beginning. But the sea beast arrived and completely destroyed most of them. The Leviathan has 2 heads and countless tentacles. You believe it is the god of the fish people, or at least leading them. Unfortunately, the beast never stays near the coast and retreats back into the deeper water when it is done rampaging. There is nothing for it except to get out of there and kill it. You have another fleet built in the southernmost port town of Naelin, since the fish people haven't attacked that far yet. Building the fleet takes a while, though due to decreasing labor force and having to practically restart from scratch again. The whole time you're building your fleet, you're anticipating an attack from the fish people. You half expect the Ushaka to attack you with claims that you're planning to invade them. Thankfully, that doesn't happen. When all's said and done, you've got a new fleet, though much smaller than before, but you can't afford to wait much longer. The quicker you kill this monster, the better. You have to win back your considerable losses. You've been made to look foolish and sometimes weak these past couple of years. Time to put an end to it once and for all. After you kill this thing, your next order of business is to invade Arat. No more than a day has passed and your fleet is already attacked by fish people. They were never the best fighters, but they weren't the worst either. And being on their territory as well, being outnumbered, certainly gives them the advantage, as some don't even bother to scale your ships and just bore holes into the ships with whatever tools they're using for such a task. You've lost half your fleet by the time the sea monster makes its presence known, and now having seen it firsthand, with your own eyes, you feel incredibly small in comparison. Stories about how it blotted out the sun weren't exaggerations. It is just that huge, and you're surrounded by water with nowhere to run. You try to cast a lightning storm, but the ship is being overrun with aquatic invaders that you can't possibly concentrate on such a spell. Your crew fights bravely, but they're just outnumbered that they can't defeat the numbers or keep from completely panicking that they're going to die on the water this day. A large tentacle smashes the deck of the ship and also succeeds in smashing 3 of your increasingly dwindling crew. You run your sword through another fisherman and dodge the other tentacle coming out from the other side. Even if you do survive this, you're not sure if you're going to make it back to land within a reasonable amount of time. You've lost every ship. Your own is now in danger of becoming driftwood, even if it takes any more punishment, which it most certainly will. You blast a group of fishermen with lightning, which gives you a breather, but only so you're just in time to see another tentacle come sweeping towards you. Unfortunately, you don't quite get out of the way in time, and a hefty blow shatters your legs. This also has enough force to knock you off the boat and into the water. You struggle for a bit in the water, desperately trying to keep above it, but soon the claws of several fishermen grab your broken legs and torso. Your struggling is put to a complete end when one of them rises up from the water to sink its teeth into your throat. Oh man, I knew it. Okay, we died. Ding! Already? Just a moment. Can I do that? We died already. First, as soon as I saw it going so quickly, I knew immediately that I was like, uh-oh. The only reason the writer is rushing here is because he knows this is a death route. Okay, we're going to lead from the front. Yeah, here we go. Just a second. We should do push-ups. Why should I do push-ups? You should do push-ups. This was your choice, not mine. I am the narrator. You guys are responsible for any unaliving that goes on here. We died so early into the stream. Miku Farmer, welcome. Yeah, head pats. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lord Peace. Oh my goodness. I'm not doing push-ups. I just got here. Oh man, that's something that really surprised me when Telephone Sound said that she would do push-ups with me on the Splatoon streams. I was like, wow, really? Okay. See? Come on, chat, you gotta do the push-ups. Okay. Yeah, I can title that as a video. I force my viewers to do push-ups. Okay. Let us pretend that we actually lead the attacks from the beginning, before we lose our fleet. But we did learn something important. They have a giant fish god. Okay. There may be a day where you're going to have to commit all your armies from bed as a sick old man, but today is not that day. As long as you can wield a weapon and move reasonably well, nobody is stopping you from fighting. As far as being on open water, well, this is the perfect chance to get over that possible phobia. Since your own intelligence reports on Delurg have always been hazy at best, you gather your information from less reputable places, namely some of the prisons. Nayland soldiers, as a rule, stayed away from the Lurg waters due to the Island League. Still, there were always the occasional forays into it for illegal smuggling purposes, and you specifically have these types give you any and all information, as well as a chance to earn their freedom by enlisting in the Navy. While getting the information on the island details isn't too much of a problem due to the threat of violence, you don't get a lot of takers to enlist, even with the promise of freedom or implied threats of conscription. At first, you believe it's just the criminal attitude of not wishing to be part of the government, but one fellow by the name of Len tells you it's a little more than that. Len is about your age, probably a little older, and is the embodiment of an old sea dog, with his untidy white hair and beard. Len says he stopped smuggling years ago when he started to feel uneasy sailing in the waters, let alone dealing with some of the people who have become enamored with a weird religion. Religion? What kind of religion, you ask? Not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure it involved the worship of some water god. I remember finding it strange since it wasn't like any of the inhabitants of Delurg were particularly religious before. When one of my friends came back into the docks one night babbling a mad tale about how he barely escaped from an ambush of screaming cultists, that was around the time I decided to stop making smuggling runs and go into something less dangerous like burglary. Obviously, I wasn't good at that since I got caught, Len replies. I like him. So, where is this friend of yours, and what did he see? Not in a jail cell, if that's what you're wondering. Last I heard, he was committed into an asylum. I think he may well have killed himself. He never did quite get over it and had a hard time talking about the details. But I do remember him saying that the cultists weren't quite human looking and fully intent on sacrificing him. Like they did with the others who weren't so lucky to escape, I guess. What, like the recent fisherman descriptions? Perhaps. Not quite that far. But he did say they had unnatural eyes and their skin was slimy looking. The reason why you're not getting any enlistees is probably either due to these stories or from personal experience, and I imagine the personal experience is rare given that my own friend went completely mad from his own. To be quite honest, I'm sort of surprised the Empire never knew of this before. Wasn't an issue before. A few rumors and tales from mad sailors and criminals isn't going to catch serious attention. In fact, before people started seeing fishmen on the coast, I didn't even know about any of this. Delurg was considered low priority, though that may have been a mistake. Then again, we're probably in a better position to handle this now. So what is your answer on enlistment? Len pauses for a moment. Oh, wait a minute. I shall do the push-ups then. I was partially responsible. I was only joking. Okay, well, exercise is good. Len pauses for a moment. Well, I've been a criminal nearly all my life and never had much use for following orders. But as much as I like living, I like freedom a lot more. So if listing means possibly getting killed by a bunch of fish monsters, but the chance of getting out of these hellholes you call prisons, then I'll take the risk. Besides, I'd say my odds are a lot better now, seeing as I'll be traveling with the Empire's Navy. I figured I can't get any safer than that. Sure you can. You're going to be aboard my personal ship. I am? You were a captain, weren't you? According to your record, you're probably more of the experienced ones in the damn Empire. Criminal or otherwise, you're going to be a navigator of my personal ship, because I am sure as hell don't know anything about steering a ship. Plus, you have better knowledge of the area, so you're coming with me directly. Len isn't sure how to respond, except with a hesitant thank you. He probably thought he was going to be able to sneak away at some point, but that will be next to impossible now with him being aboard your ship. When the time comes, you board your personal ship, which is decked out in the best gear available. Actually, it's much slower than the rest of the ships due to its size, but then it's meant to fight and take punishment, not outmaneuver a possible enemy. Honestly, you aren't even sure what you'll encounter. If the Island League is indeed completely gone, then you may face no opposition at all as far as the other ships are concerned. Maybe you'll have some strange fishermen scaling your ships in an attempt to kill you. Whatever you face, you will be ready. Since the occupation of the islands isn't the main priority, you're taking a strong force of orcs with you. Sprog himself has volunteered to come, possibly to prove the rest of his people how much of a warrior he is. Oh, Sprog's coming with us. Nice. Cowley sent a letter asking if you need his assistance, or in assistance of any of the eyes, as things are much calmer in Rask nowadays, but you tell him the eyes are needed at home, as they always are. Within a few days, you're in Delurg waters, but you've come across no islands yet. Len remarks about how strange this is, since according to his memory, he should have come across a couple by now. Even the information you received from others with knowledge of the area would dictate that you would have encountered some sort of landmass by now. Is the sea god sinking the islands? When you sail further out to sea, you still don't find any major landmasses. There are a small patch of land, but nothing that would support a town or other settlement. At best, you might be able to build a small guard tower on them, but that would only if the land was relatively flat and solid, which it doesn't appear to be. This is so weird. In the other timelines where we died, there were plenty of islands. This is damn odd. That small patch of land right there is where the Island League's biggest island was. It even had their largest settlement, Barnacle. It's like the water's just swallowed everything up, Len remarks. I'm getting a vague impression I know what happened to this place. All of Delurg, in fact. There's nothing here worth conquering now. We might as well... Before you can complete your sentence, there is a sudden rumble in the water. Hey, Banter, welcome. How you doing? How are you? Yeah, we're just doing a choose your own adventure story. Yeah, hope you're doing well. Before you can complete your sentence, there's a sudden rumble in the water. Everyone, brace yourselves, you shout, and then you see several of your ships fly up off of the waters when a large sea monster spectacularly arises from below. Your own ship is rocked severely with water crashing everywhere. For a moment, you think that night has fallen, but it's just the sea creature blotting out the sun. The creature is bigger than anything you've ever faced. Even Snowtop the giant from before, even Snowtop would be the size of a gnome compared to this thing. Doesn't help that the creature has 2 heads and several tentacles already crushing some of your ships that weren't destroyed when it ascended in the first place. Oh, nice. Oh my god, is it me or is your voice a lot more deeper than usual? It's because I'm narrating, so I'm trying to control the strain of my voice so I don't get too excited. Because when I get excited, I talk a bit higher. Like I'm like hi. But because I'm narrating, I'm trying to force myself to slow down. You know, I'm always high pitched, right? I'm always like energetic because I'm so excited to meet you guys. You should hear the voice for Len. The voice for Mistress is, I should have known you. But then for the voice for Len is like, hell, Jimmy, it's about damn time. Okay. Fire everything and don't stop until that thing is dead, you shout, and the cannons roar, desperately trying to harm the creature. Fortunately, the ships that you have left don't seem to be losing their courage, and presumably their captains have the same idea of attacking, since you can see cannon fire coming from them. Though, given their proximity to the creature, they wouldn't be able to retreat in time for it to crush them anyway. The beast isn't as invulnerable as it would seem, as the cannon fire does work and delivers wounds, but the main problem is, it's just too damn big. You cast frost bolts at its tentacles that are attempting to wrap around the ship, then you order your troops to shatter them while they are still frozen. This works well enough that it keeps your ship afloat, but there's more than just the sea monster to worry about, and you fully expect something like this to happen even before you met the Leviathan. I'm doing amazing so far. Oh, that's good. Several of the fishermen begin scaling your ship. While your ship is well defended and has the skilled manpower, it needs to repel the attack, and you get the impression that some of the aquatic attackers are probably trying to put holes in it from underneath. Sprog, take some of your people and get in the water and kill everything, you shout. Sprog doesn't argue, he just nods at your command. Sprog is the orc leader. He's the leader of the orcs. Assuming it is both of you manage to get out of this alive, you at least know that you've got his complete loyalty now. Nothing like fighting side by side against impossible odds to gain respect. Stripping off what little armor he was wearing in the first place, Sprog goes into full berserker orc battle frenzy while ordering some of his best to follow him down into the water. You know orcs are tough, but you hope they'll be able to fight these fishermen in their own environment. It is a severe disadvantage after all. Meanwhile, the beast is continuing to destroy the rest of your fleet. You can see people in the water desperately attempting to cling to floating wreckage, only to be pulled underneath by the waves by fishermen who are picking them off. Your own ship has slowly changed direction thanks to Len taking command of the steering wheel. We can't fight this monster. We have to retreat, he shouts, pulling the wheel of the ship as hard as he can. He's probably right, and who knows, if you tried right now, you might actually manage to get away while the beast is primarily occupied. That certainly would be the most sensible thing to do. Of course, something about this whole experience is making you feel, well, good. Your heart is pumping and you're full of energy, and you're determined to show this undersea abomination that you're not ready to lie down and accept the fact that you're getting older. No, I can't let this beast beat me. I never lose, you shout and knock Len off the wheel, who looks at you like you're insane and scurries off to find a hiding spot. With battle and bloodshed all around you, with the sounds of cannons and swords filling your eardrums, you make your way to the crow's nest to gain the highest vantage point you can. From there, you get your best look at the sea monster. The large holes in its bodies where the cannons have blown off chunks of it convince you that it can be defeated. It's just going to take a little magic, that's all. Or rather, a lot of it. You begin to focus. Okay, chat, we've got our first vote for the evening. I am going to ask you guys, what spell do we go fishing with? We have the options of an ice storm or a lightning storm. Oh my goodness. Okay, that is a tough one. I am glad. Okay, I've started the poll. We swap positions. We start the countdown, and you guys have 20 seconds to vote. Okay. Ice storm or lightning storm. Okay. Holy smokes. If you were the narrator, I would be reading more. Yay! I'd love to do that. I've always wanted to try my hand at a audiobook, like narrating an audiobook. Never done it before though. I mean, I'm an actor. I'm a trained actor, but I haven't done audio stuff yet. I stormed to freeze them. Hi, Jetski Sam. Yeah. Hey, Jetski, how you doing? Hey everyone. Hope it's going well. Are you winning or losing? I guess you're winning. I don't know. We're gonna find out. We're fighting a giant. We've already died once this evening. Oh no! Don't tell me it's a split. No. Oh, great. I was joking about how it's always you guys' fault if we die, but a 50-50 means that I have to choose. Okay, if we go with an ice storm, we could freeze it in its place and continue to fire at it. A lightning storm would probably cook our orc friends in the water. So, you know, I don't want our orc buddies to die. So I'm going, but if we freeze them, then our orc... No matter what we do, the orcs are going to be in trouble. Lightning might harm the orcs. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go with ice because the Seraphs, we use, like, we have a lot of ice around us whenever we use magic because our wings absorb energy. So I'm going to go with my Seraph, my Seraph heritage. Okay. Let's see here. Ice. Okay. Save. Okay, and I'll do this, chat. If we die, then I do push-ups. Because I chose this time. Yep, they can be frozen too. But Jono, you're wingless. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay. Frost has been doing a good job at freezing the beast's tentacles, so you decide to try freeze the entire thing. You concentrate, and as you do, you begin to feel the air grow colder and colder. The wind begins to pick up, and soon ice pellets begin to rain down on the area. You directly unleash a blast of frost right at one of the creature's heads, and while the ice does indeed start to form around it, and movement begins to get sluggish, it isn't quite enough to stop it completely from moving. Instead, the creature bashes its head against a nearby ship in an attempt to break the ice shell now around its frozen head, destroying it and cracking the ice in the process. The beast's other head completely submerges underwater, followed by the rest of its body. Uh-oh. In the meantime, the fishermen are scaling your ship and having difficulty with the cold, which is slowing them down. Unfortunately, it isn't the best thing for your own crew either, but they're doing better than the fish at least. You help your crew by continuing to cast ice bolts from the crow's nest, but this is soon cut short when a large tentacle whips out from the water and heads directly towards your position. You attempt to freeze the tentacle and you succeed, but you fail to stop its momentum. Uh-oh. The frozen part of the frozen tentacle smashes into the crow's nest and the mast, destroying both along with the part of the tentacles that shatters several pieces in the process. As for you, you're hit with such a great force that all the wind is knocked out of you, and you go flying into the ocean and hit the water quite hard. You barely manage to swim back to the water's surface, and you feel quite woozy and having trouble breathing normally. You're fairly certain you've got cracked or broken ribs. Floating in the middle of the ocean with pieces of your once great fleet drifting nearby, you struggle to swim to some nearby debris before you pass out. You don't get far, however, when all of a sudden you feel several claws grabbing your legs. This is soon followed by the feeling of teeth sinking into your legs. You attempt to kick away, but you can't shake them. A fish person rises up from the water and grabs your upper body in an attempt to drag you under for good. The smell of salt water fills your nostrils, along with the foul smell of the sea life in general. Already struggling to catch your breath, you soon succumb to a watery death at the hands of the fish people. No! Okay, I'll do 10 push-ups. 10. Dang it. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That one was on me, chat. That one was on me. Fake ups. Hey Jax the rabbits, how you doing? We died again. Wow. Okay. We're gonna pretend that we cast lightning from we're just gonna rewind time. We're just gonna rewind time and refresh. Okay. With that karma, push-ups, boy. Just because for those of you who just arrived, when we died earlier in the stream, chat told me to do push-ups and I said no. That was your fault. You voted for this, not me. You guys have to do push-ups. Yeah, I wasn't expecting a split vote to come on the very next choice. Not only did I get the split vote, but then I also lost the 50-50 coin flip. Okay. What did I walk into? Oh, yeah, this is a story we've been following from, there's a website called chooseyourstory.com. And at the end of, I'll just show you now. At the end of each chapter, you can make choices. See down here, these two blue ones, right? So, what's it? I narrate the story and then chat votes on which decision we make. And we've been following this. This is like episode 7 now. We've been doing this for 7 streams. We have to be near the end of the story soon. Yeah, chat wanted the fantasy villain protagonist story. The other option was a zombie survival story. So I might, after we finish this eternal story, like fully, like get to the end of the story, there's apparently like 13 different endings as well. But once we get to one of the main story endings, I might take a break from this. We might have some fun community nights where we play games together, you know, like Scribble and stuff like that. We did not consent to doing push-ups. It's lazy Sunday. I did my push-ups, so it's only fair if you do too. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so we're going to cast lightning. As high as you currently are, the beast is still several times higher and should easily be a perfect target. You concentrate, and as you do, you begin to feel little charges and sparks around you, and the air begins to have a faint smell of electricity. As dark as the sky is, with the beast blocking the sun with its size, the sky gets even darker when the storm clouds gather. You directly unleash a blast of lightning right at one of the creature's heads. It must have been enough to aidle what passes for brains in the creature, because the serpentine head begins to flail back and forth, making an incredibly loud bellow and knocking into the other head and taking it off of its concentrated effort to destroy your fleet. Then a rumbling comes from the sky, and you're nearly blinded by the light show that occurs next. With the storm clouds, the creature takes several lightning strikes to both of its heads. If the creature wasn't in pain or aidled before, it certainly is now. Its roaring of pain is so great that it's practically deafening. You don't let up though. You continue to summon the lightning, and that's when you learn that you only have so much control over nature. The lightning strikes begin to go all over the place. Some hit your ships, so some hit the water, and some continue to hit the beast. Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes there's like spelling and grammatical errors. So over here, there's so rather than some. So as I'm reading, I'm trying to like fix some of the grammar and spelling mistakes while I'm narrating, which is a little tricky. You struggle to direct the lightning, but your energy ebbs quickly as you fail to do so, and you take a direct bolt yourself. Oh crap, we got zapped! It's a quick and odd feeling. You feel a great deal of pain, followed by a warm sensation, and then you briefly realize you've fallen from the crow's nest, which was completely destroyed by the blast. You then feel extreme agony when you not only crashed into the deck of the ship, but also through it. You landed on some barrels, though all you know is when you land you heard a snap and a numbness wash over your body. That's when you know you're paralyzed from the neck down. What? We're paralyzed? Oh. Where? Oh, that's not good. Oh, but we do have healing magic. But can we use healing magic while paralyzed? You hear the sounds of battle continue all around you. Some of the crew that were manning the cannons on the lower deck call for help when they see you, but there's nothing anyone can do to help you. Everything's blurry. You've probably got a concussion, and death has never been so close to you since you fought the Emperor. You're going to fall asleep, and your body will sink under the water when the ship is inevitably destroyed. There, the fish will eat you, or possibly the creatures you're fighting will eat you, It's possible Carly might step up and take command of the Empire. But after him, you don't see it lasting very long. Your own legacy will eventually be forgotten, and that will be the story of you. That is, if you had any intention of dying today. We did not consent yet. Get away from me and get back to fighting when you're not done yet. You weakly command the crew members that are standing around gawking at you. You remember the lessons of the Emperor taught you and about healing yourself. At this point, you're in dire need of a lot of healing, and you imagine you'll easily be shortening your lifespan quite a bit in the process. But then you aren't supposed to be alive right now anyway. You focus again. You will your body to mend itself together. In your weakened state, you're drifting in and out of consciousness already, but somehow you manage to push through it and feel the magic doing its work. You start to feel your body again. You're racked with pain, but you can feel again. You try to get up, but you're still just too weak and drained. You see a fisherman coming down the ship's stairway and alert your crew with a shout. The last thing you see is that thing coming at you before you pass out. Lover, have you come to join me? You hear a voice ask. Huh? Who's that? Oh, it's Mistress! Lover, have you finally come to join me? You hear a voice ask. Huh? Who is that? It's me, of course. You open your eyes and see Semra hovering over you. She looks exactly like you remember well, except she happens to be completely naked right now. Though you remember that too. Oh my goodness! Shit, am I dead after all, you say? And given that you're here, I must be in some sort of hell. Ah, I miss that dry sense of humor. I also miss this, Semra remarks, and you feel a hand on your crotch! No! Really? Really? A schmexy scene now? Now of all times? Normally, you'd probably push her away, but given everything you just went through, you figure that this is your own personal hell. You could certainly do worse. Just as you're about to give in completely, Semra's head is cleaved in with a single sword blow. Blood splatters all over you, and her body slumps lifelessly onto your own. Is this what you frickin' want? I thought you were stronger than that. The man I married never gave up. Another familiar voice says, no! It's our wife! It's our wife! After pushing Semra's dead body off of you, you look up and you see Allison in all her warrior maiden glory. You never thought you'd ever see her again, though you wish she were in a happier mood. Allison! She got assassinated. Yeah, she got assassinated quite a few chapters ago. Technically over 500 years ago now. Allison? No. Don't even try to make an excuse. I caught you and you're not getting off that easy. I'm doing this for your own good. You see Allison's sword come straight at your head, but you don't attempt to dodge. Instead, you just sit up to meet the sword halfway. And you wake up with a splitting headache and your body's still hurting all over. Ha! Told you he was gonna wake up. He's not called an Eternal for no reason, you know. You owe me 2 gold pieces, Sprog, Len claims. Sprog owe you what? Never mind. Welcome back to the living, Emperor. Everyone wasn't sure if you were gonna make it back or not, but I had a feeling you might. Bah, should have died. What a glorious battle. Be great honor to die in such battle, Sprog remarks. Oh, really? Then why didn't you make more of an effort to die then? Len asks. Sprog still need to produce more children first. Now more than ever, since 3 sons died on other ships. Must ensure legacy, Sprog says and walks away. You look around and find yourself still on the lower deck of your personal ship. You guess that nobody wanted to move you for fear of doing any more damage to your body. It's a mess on the lower deck, and there's still a hole from where you crashed through, but obviously the ship survived the battle. As you sit up, you nearly lay back down due to the pain. A volley of explicitives soon follow. Easy there. While I know you just survived something no man should have, I'm pretty sure taking a direct hit from a lightning bolt and crashing through the deck of a ship from a great height still has to be painful. In fact, it's odd, but you even look a little older because of the experience. You have no idea, you remark. Insisting on fighting that beast had to be the single most insane things I've ever seen. But while I was personally afraid, I couldn't help but admire it. Despite him believing you were gonna die, I know Sprog certainly admired it too, Len says. He probably hoped I was going to die. Still glad to see he's honorable enough that he didn't try to take advantage and kill me while I was unconscious, though. Glad to see you didn't either. I was a smuggler, not a murderer, Besides, I don't think anything I could do would actually kill you. Anyway, after seeing what you just survived. So did we win? I can only assume us still being afloat means we've won, unless we've retreated. Then gives an apprehensive look before answering. Allison! Samra, Allison, wait, they're alive? Nope, it was a hallucination. Well, yes and no. Technically we won, though I'm not sure if we actually killed that sea monster. After you crashed through the deck of the ship, the fishermen continued to scale the ship, but the sea monster continued to be hit by lightning, eventually sank beneath the waters. But like I said, I don't know if we killed it or if it just swam away. Soon after that happened, the fishermen stopped attacking too. But other than this ship and a couple of others struggling alongside, your fleet is gone, along with all of your people aboard them. We had patched up several holes they managed to put in the ship, and we're sailing at half speed due to all the broken masts, but we'll make it back to Nailen okay, barring any other attacks, of course. You curse again, but this time it's more at yourself rather than the pain you're in. You wasted a lot of troops and resources on this endeavor for no real prize. You didn't even acquire any new territory. You think back to Trog's words again about getting old and knowing your limitations. Well, you certainly learned that lesson today. Hard. Well, I suppose it isn't all bad. You did teach those fish creatures that you're not to be trifled. Oh. Well, I suppose it isn't all bad. You did teach those fish creatures that you're not to be trifled with. It's like a battle between gods when you unleash that lightning on the beasts' heads. They might think twice about popping up on your shores now, Lynn says in an attempt to cheer you up. We can only hope, I suppose, you answer. The first thing you do when you get back home is try to rest. You do so for as much as you're able for weeks, and while you do eventually recover, you're never quite the same again. You've visibly gotten older due to the healing magic, and it only did so much. You're still experiencing dull aches and pains on a daily basis, worse than you did when you went on your mission. You'll never be like you were. Those days are long gone. On the bright side, there have been no more sightings of fish people on the coast, so perhaps your venture was fruitful after all, unless they're biding their time and trying to regroup, which is exactly what you would do. So naturally, you've ordered the building of a new fleet, along with a proper naval training for potential sailors. Of course, if the fishy people are no longer a threat, that still means Trog's vision of relentless enemies still looms, which means it's either the G-Hive or a yet unknown enemy. More things to look forward to as you approach your twilight years. Let's find out what Jennifer is up to. Okay, this one isn't a voting one. This is just a additional backstory. And we've been looking at all the additional backstory as we've been going, so we're not going to skip out now. This is also quite short by the looks of it. We almost married Jennifer, chat. We almost did, but she turned us down because she wants to focus on her career. I told you, I don't want any visitors, and I'm not dealing with anything today. I'm resting, you tell David as you wince from the aches all over your body. I know, but under the circumstances, I thought you might make an exception for this person. It's Jennifer Mole, my emperor. Really? Well, what does she want, you ask. I think she heard what happened and just wants to see you. Despite your pain, you suppose you can spare this time for Jennifer. All right, send her in. You take a seat and mumble about the sharp pain in your back when Jennifer enters your room. She notices your discomfort immediately and walks briskly towards you. Are you okay? She asks. Not really, but there's nothing you can do. Don't worry about it. Good to see you. I had to come to see if you were as wounded as I'd heard. I also heard that you had a great battle with the sea monster? Well, I did have a battle with a sea monster, and I also managed to paralyze myself in the process. Fortunately, magic has its advantages, you say. Paralyze? Yes, but as I said, magic has its benefits. Look, it's been taken care of. I'll just have to put up with a few more aches and pains now, but I'm alive and still functional, and that's the important thing. I suppose. I guess you succeeded against those fish people then. Well, there hasn't been any more sightings, so I certainly hope that's the case. I regret to inform you that Delurg no longer exists in any form, though. It's nothing but water now. I remember you once expressed a desire to explore the islands at one time, you say. Oh yes, I did. I sort of gave up on that idea, though, when I realized it wasn't possible. Sometimes you just realize those sort of things, you know? Jennifer says that like she's talking about something more than just Delurg, like your former relationship. Heh. But then, of course, in your case, I suppose everything is possible for you, Jennifer adds. Not getting severely injured seems to still elude me as well as getting old. Bah, I don't want to dwell on this anymore. Tell me about what you've been up to. Oh, well, nothing important. I mean, certainly nothing as exciting as protecting the Empire from external threats, Jennifer remarks. Doesn't matter. It's important to me. I'm genuinely interested, you say. This comment garners a smile from Jennifer, who begins to tell you that what has been going on in her life. The big thing she mentions is the book she's working on. She hasn't thought of a title for it yet, but it's going to be about the old empire, or at least what she's pieced together from what she's found and from what you've told her. While she's explaining the process, you notice a male name keeps popping up when she discusses having another person helping her put it together. You can't help but wonder. So, your partner, is this the one, you ask? One? Your new boyfriend, of course. I might not be an expert on these matters, but I do notice a bit of extra excitement when you speak his name and how much he's supported and helped in putting together the book. Jennifer doesn't know how to react. You reassure her that she's done nothing wrong. Jennifer, what we had ended amicably years ago. I certainly didn't expect you to continue your life alone. I'm certainly not uncomfortable or going to be angry about it. Okay, Jennifer says, as if a weight has been lifted off of her. So, anyone I know? Tell me about him, you ask. Jennifer says that he isn't anyone you would know. He's a historian that started working at the museum about a year ago, but that they got along almost immediately. She says that they are already talking about getting married and maybe starting a family. You're a little surprised by that news, but not displeased. You're glad that she's found someone that's probably a little more stable. Still, when she explains all this, you can sense an almost apologetic tone at times. She feels in some way that she's betrayed you, even though logic dictates otherwise, and you've even said as much. Well, that sounds very good. I'm glad life is working out for you and you're doing well. And if you need any more information for your book, you're free to ask me anytime. Well, assuming I'm not fighting any sea monsters or whatever else the world decides to throw at me. If I need information, I will certainly ask you. Well, I guess I better leave you to your rest. I know you've got an empire to run and you need all the strength for that. Jennifer starts to leave but turns around. I just wanted to say, I will always be a loyal citizen to you and the empire. I've always believed in you and appreciate how you've ascended this nation to greatness. Maybe people will tell you these things all the time, but I want to reinforce the fact that I respect and appreciate the sacrifices you make to protect us all. You certainly weren't expecting that. Well, I thank you very much, Jennifer. I never doubted your loyalty for a second. You didn't need to tell me, you reply. Jennifer smiles again. Her eyes look slightly watery, like she's going to cry. No, I just wanted to say it to you, she remarks, and then nods silently and walks out of your room, leaving you alone. You get out of the chair you were sitting in slowly and make your way to the bed, ignoring all the pains the whole time. When you finally get horizontal, you actually feel a little relief. Ah, better, you say as the pain in your back lessens. She'll get over those lingering feelings eventually. Everything fades in time. You say that knowing that it isn't necessarily true when you begin to think about Allison as you drift off to sleep. Oh, Allison! Okay, years pass. We are now... Oh, we're in a very funny number. We're at the year 555. Okay. Oh, the G are the insect people. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I'm just getting everything in line. Okay. The reports, as usual, say that the G have been becoming more frequent in the arid region, and that they've been sighted close to the Empire borders, specifically near the city of Regnick, David remarks. Well, that would be the most logical place for them to attack first, seeing as it's the closest. Seeing as the G like to attack from underground, have all of our kobold units on alert, and have the 7th Scaly Brigade stationed in Arid. I know they're the best of those little vicious bastards, and I'm confident they can slow down or repel such as G attacks before the rest of the armies get mobilized. Probably can do some tunneling scouting and digging as well, you remark. Very well, but I also have a report stating that the G have mostly been focusing on the Arid Confederacy. All 4 cities have been attacked, and apparently Edolith, which is Semra's daughter, Edolith wants to speak with us about coordinating forces to destroy the threat. Apparently, she's also been sending people to speak with the Redcap Kingdom too. No idea if that was successful. Oh, so Eldie's having a bug problem and now she's begging for help. I'm a little surprised that she swallowed her pride enough that she's willing to talk at all. So when is she due to arrive? She isn't. She claims that if you want to talk, you should meet her on neutral ground between Lene and Regnick. Typical Svelk arrogance. Call for help and then insist that it be on their terms. You aren't thinking about going, are you? Surely it's got to be some sort of trap. Of course it will be a trap, but if I did go, I could probably learn more about what she's been up to, and if if I go, and in the off chance that this isn't a trap and completely on the up and up, then I can still better assess what her situation is and the G-Hive threat. But Emperor, your condition. I mean, not to say you aren't a fit man for your age, but that battle with the sea beasts 5 years ago, well, I just mean I don't want to see you walk into something a tad overwhelming for you again. The Empire needs you. These are some pretty bold words, though David was as diplomatic as he could have possibly been. Really brave on his part, though he didn't need to fear anything from you. He's right. You're still feeling that battle to this day, and will continue until the day you die. David's actually been a bit of a surprise to you. When he first groveled for the job of being your top advisor, you assumed that, like most of the senators in the old Nayland Republic, he was just looking to save his skin, while also looking for the best possible position he could get in the new order of things. He got it because he seemed to be competent and least annoying at times. Since then, he's proven himself to be good at his job and genuinely care about his work and the good of the Empire. While your concern is noted, I'm not going anywhere. Send a message to her stating that if she really wants to discuss terms of the alliance or something similar, she's going to have to drag her svelk ass here. David nods and leaves your presence. Ooh. Seeing as all your major business is concluded today, you head back to your personal chambers. You spend a little time reading a new book that Jennifer has written with her new husband. It's all about the old Empire, called The Glory Before the Fall. Fairly accurate, but then again, she did have your input on the thing. She still never told her, or anyone for that matter, about her ancestor being involved in killing the Emperor, which indirectly caused the cataclysm. You suppose that'll just have to be one of those secrets lost to history when you die. As you're reading, you begin reflecting on your old relationship with Jennifer. It sometimes seems strange that the two of you have remained friends despite not being romantically involved anymore. Of course, the two of you just see one another as Of course, the two of you just see one another as much anymore either, so that might help. Really, your relationship with her was more due to the young crush on her part and perhaps a bit of loneliness on your own. She saw you as a pillar of strength and the pinnacle of a warrior, basically someone who got things done, which was somewhat lacking with most of the leaders and citizens of the Republic. You were different, and it was attractive. Then she slowly grew out of it. Now she's happily married to someone more similar to her, a scholar interested in history. She even had a son a couple of years ago, and that's all okay with you. You're happy for her. You've got so many more concerns nowadays that you can't be bothered to feel the pangs of regrets of what could have been. Besides, Jennifer was and will always be a nice and one of the few people you could consider a friend. But she was no Allison. Nobody ever will be. All this self-reflection and thoughts about Jennifer's family make you ponder on your own lack of one, though. Not so much due to the overwhelming desire to have one, but more of what's going to happen to the Empire after you die. You've been thinking about that on and off ever since your last brush with death, actually. To be quite honest, you never really thought about a successor, mainly because for a long time you were focused on actually being the Emperor rather than passing the title on. It would be easier, of course, if you had children, but then just pass it on that way. But then even if you could, that wouldn't be a guarantee they're actually worthy or show the desire or interest. You are unnaturally molded into the way you were. Who is to say how your imaginary children would have turned out if you attempted to mold them into mirror images of yourself? That, of course, just leaves passing the Empire to someone worthy. You've briefly entertained the idea before and believe that Cowley would be potentially the best candidate. Of course, given he's around your age, he's not likely to live any longer than you are, assuming you die of natural causes, which isn't necessarily a given, even if you are taking less risks nowadays. You begin thinking that perhaps you should get some sort of list of the Empire's best and brightest, and subject them to a series of tests to see if they're worthy enough to be an apprentice of sorts. Basically what the Emperor did with you, except without all the magical alterations and sadistic Svelk taskmasters. You spend the next few days going over the records of various soldiers, eyes, administrators, technicians, politicians, and others. Though, being a warrior yourself, you can't help but be biased towards the military types, but you don't want to overlook anything. During this time, David reports to you that Edilith is actually indulged and demanding an audience. That didn't take long, though. You're a little surprised she actually showed up in person. You figured she'd send a flunky or some sort. When you go to meet her, she's standing with her personal guard and looking around, just as being in the room full of humans is tainting her Svelk purity. Hello, Eldie. I'm sure you're anxious to get this over with.
Don't address me by a shortened version of my name in an attempt to be condescending. I am Dominia Eldilith Devasa
of the Great Arat Confederacy. And I'm sure that sounds very impressive when you tell your subjects on that little nation of yours.
Yes, a little nation that stood against the G for years and managed to survive your expansion efforts. A testament that it's quality of the nation rather than the size.
You chuckle. LD, the only reason your nation is still around is because I've allowed it, and I suggest that you do not come here grandstanding when you're in no position to do so. We all know you're here to beg for my help with the G because they're kicking your ass. Now, we can make this as easy or as humbling as possible. Your choice. Edlith gives you a look of absolute burning hatred and is silent. Nice. Her personal guards shift uncomfortably, and your own soldiers are fondling their rifles, looking for an excuse to open fire. You're enjoying
this, aren't you?
Edlith remarks. Actually, not as much as you'd think. Mainly because I don't want you here any more than you want to be here. So, how about we get to the point I originally suggested?
Fine. Here it is. The G are beating on the Confederacy doors. We've been your buffer zone between them and you. If we fall, then you're going to have to face them in full force.
And you seem to believe we aren't going to be able to handle that. Not a very compelling argument, LD.
Because you're short-sighted.
Edlith stops herself.
What I mean is, you haven't let me finish. We have an ancient magic weapon at our disposal that could end this threat completely. But the problem is, none of our own mages are powerful enough to tap into its fullest potential. As much as I hate to inflate your ego any more than it is, I believe your magic abilities would be able to. So, as you can see, you don't need to marshal armies to our defense or waste any resources. All that is required of you is to get up off your throne for one moment and take a trip to Lene, and we can get started.
You burst out laughing. Oh yes, let me just go walking into a city filled with Svelk. That wouldn't be a death sentence at all. You expect me to just trust you at your word? Even if you do have this so-called powerful weapon, I still have a hard time believing that there wasn't some sort of trick or a catch or an angle that doesn't involve me dead in some way.
I thought you were the Emperor, Mr. Invincible and Fearless. Have you gotten so cautious in your old age that you can't handle being alone?
LD, if you think this pathetic attempt of character assassination is going to suddenly cause me to behave in some erratic manner and go to Lene, you're sadly mistaken. You never were any good at the art of persuasion. The only way you're going to see me in Lene is if I'm leading a conquering army through it, which, given your continued insolence, is starting to look more appealing. So who knows, maybe you will see me there soon. Now get out of my sight before I put an end to your miserable life before the G do.
I told her this was futile,
Edlith exclaims, and her personal guards surround her with a magic barrier. Bullets from your soldiers are absorbed into the barrier. Congratulations, you've just made this easier, you say, and focus on bringing down the shield, while your soldiers advance with their weapons.
I think not. A lot of time has passed since I was a mercenary captain, and you were an emperor's puppet who had not yet cut his master's strings,
Edlith says, and suddenly she floats above her own personal guards, followed by a red glow of light from her. Her personal guards at this point all begin screaming in pain. Whatever she is doing, she is sacrificing her own people to do it. Then a super blast of telekinetic energy repels all of your troops back. You even have a hard time not falling over. Edlith casts some sort of spell that literally starts melting your soldiers' weapons. Some manage to drop them before the hot metal scalds them too much. Your own eye mages lob offensive spells at her, but they aren't penetrating the shield. Some aim for her soldiers, but they aren't moving despite some of them being on fire. They're already in a living death state anyway. Edlith never had any magic abilities, and while it's possible she studied and trained herself, but something seems off about all of this, not to mention her odd comments. Just as you bring her shield down, a portal opens up behind you. You have no idea where it's going, but you can feel it pulling you in slightly.
Time to be reunited,
Edlith shouts, and a red beam of magical energy is thrown in your direction. Oh, chat, here we go. Another vote. Start a poll. What do we do? Dodge the beam or put up your own shield? Sounds like her mother survived. I think Semra is still alive. Swap. And begin the countdown while I take a sippy sip. Whew. I'm not going to have any influence on this one. But It sounds like, and I'll wait until the timer is up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding, ding, ding. It sounds like she's trying to push us into the portal. Okay. Oh no, not another split. Really? Really, chat? Really? Really? I'm going to go with dodge. I'm going to go with dodge because it feels like they're trying to push me through the portal. And I ain't falling for that game. Okay. So let's see. Doge. Save. Refresh. Remember, if I die, I do the push-ups because it's my fault. It's always my fault now. Why do you guys do this to me? Okay, and swap. Wait. Why is it not working? Oh, there we go. No! If you were 20 years younger and not saddled with the countless old wounds that cause your body to react much slower nowadays, you'd probably easily dodge the beam. Hell, if you were just 10 or 5 years younger even. However, you aren't, and your agility isn't what it used to be. When you attempt to duck and roll out of the way, you just succeed in spraining your back with your sudden move. Oh, my back! But that's the least of your concerns. When Edlith's red beam hits you directly in the head, you suddenly feel a crushing pressure all around your skull for a moment, and then a pop sound is heard inside our head before your brain is completely scrambled by an overload of, well, whatever the hell Edlith hit you with. All you know is that it hurts a lot in the last few moments you're actually conscious to experience the pain. With your brain fried and blood leaking out of your ears, you collapse to the floor. If Edlith's goal was to get you into that portal, she's going to have to drag your corpse in there now. No!
死んでいる.
5 push-ups for me. Just to make a second. Okay, put up our shield. Man, this game trolls me. No, it's 10 push-ups, isn't it? Yep, 10 push-ups. Okay. Oh, well, that's refreshing. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Woo! My goodness. Put that there. I don't know how. I don't control how the others vote. Given that your reflexes aren't what they used to be, you don't risk physical avoidance and instead put up your hands to create a shield for the oncoming magic beam. At first, you assume that the beam will either absorb into the shield or deflect completely. Instead, the force of it knocks you back much more than you were expecting, and right into the portal. You don't feel any pain, or anything, really, other than the minor fall on your back, which hits the stone floor. You're not in your palace anymore, but what catches your attention immediately is what is in the room with you. A fancy chair with an old withered-looking body in it. You can tell it's Svelk, but you've never seen an old Svelk before, at least not one that displays this great deal of age. At this distance, you can't even be sure if it's alive or not. Oh, she a wrinkly prune! Surrounding the chair are several tall rods, which emanate a magic field. The rods are embedded in the floor. They look like they were made of adamantium, a very strong material, usually used by the Darrow. Nearby, there are several orbs mounted on a similar shorter rods. They aren't glowing or anything, but you assume that they're also magical. Other than this site, there isn't anything else in the room, which is made of solid-looking stone. The other notable feature is the fact that there aren't any doors or any other apparent way out. I knew one day you would return to me. You hear a voice utter in your head. The voice is familiar, and for a brief moment you think you're dreaming, but a closer look at the withered body in the room, and you know this is all too real. So, you survived after all. Explains why there was no Svelk body when I got dug up, you say. Not without a price, as you can see, Semra says. Apparently she can only communicate through your mind. The magical field prevents you from getting too close, but Semra's face looks like it's in a permanent slack-jawed state. It would also appear that some magic never dies, as you can sense Semra's emotions right now, thanks in part to that little spell she cast on you before you faced the Emperor. Right now, Semra's probably gathering all the information on what you've been more or less up to since you were freed. As always, your own ability is limited, and you can't read what she's been up to. However, given her current state, you don't imagine it's involved much physical activity. You can sense a faint sense of happiness from her because you're here, but then you never did quite understand her unnatural obsession for you. You also sense a slight feeling of shame for appearing the way she does, though she's trying really hard to block it from you. Vanity, of course. Really, though, you're more concerned about how you're going to escape from here. You doubt that you can destroy the field surrounding Semra. If you could, you wouldn't have been brought here in the first place. It's obvious that Semra really wants to talk with you.
Do you have no desire at all for a brief discussion with me after all we've been through?
Semra asks. Not particularly, though since I can see no apparent way out this time, I suppose I'll indulge you for now.
Don't worry. Unlike me, you're not a prisoner here. You don't know how good it is to see you again, even if you are a little older. Like I'm in a position to judge,
Semra remarks. Yeah, about that. So, what is this? Are you dead? Are you alive?
Oh, I'm alive. But thanks to my daughter's treachery, I have been reduced to this pathetic shell.
When did that happen and how?
How? Why? When it happened isn't important. The fault is mine for not being more observant and allowing myself to still hold a torch for you, which contributed to my weakness. I cannot blame Edlith for her actions that led me to this fate. She only did what a true Svelk daughter would do.
So I take it you're proud of her for turning you into a wizened invalid?
I was for a time. However, despite a few shining moments, she has ultimately proven to be a failure in her ambitions. She could have expanded the Svelk so that we had our own empire once again, but she was too busy bedding and torturing her slave girl lovers, or indulging in other petty pleasures. She ultimately has no real confidence in her own abilities. If she did, she wouldn't keep me around.
I figured she kept you around as some sort of torture for you, you remark.
While you're partially correct, the other reason is she still needs me to be around to hold her hand and tell her what to do next. She claims that she keeps me around because she enjoys mocking my decrepit, impotent form while occasionally tapping my powers, but without me advising her, she wouldn't have been able to hold on to this city for as long as she did. If she's trying to torture me and continue to display her idiocy and making foolish decisions, while I can't actively do anything about them, then it's working. I urged her that she should have sought you out as soon as I sensed your active presence, but she just ignored me, claiming I was just being a sentimental fool. She never saw the big picture until it was too late, but I did. I still do, which is why I wanted to see you.
What, the G threat?
That is indeed a threat, but it is perhaps just a catalyst for what is going to come.
And I suppose you can see into the future? I don't remember you ever having that ability.
I didn't, but after Casimir's death, or the cataclysm as most called it, many things were unleashed, large waves of wild magic being one. Wish I had developed this ability before I was reduced to this husk, but then I suppose my current state allows for such dormant powers to manifest themselves due to being unable to do anything else except sit and think. Another thing that was unleashed was the G. Did you know they've lived far underground for millennia? Even further than the Darrow or any other known subterranean race, practically unknown to the surface world. It was only due to the massive upheaval of the Earth due to the cataclysm that they slowly started making their way up to the surface. I believe they thought it was an attack, and now they've finally amassed their numbers to the point where they can overrun the surface world. Took them a few centuries, but here they are, and they'll be very difficult to stop.
But you said they weren't the only danger.
They aren't. The old empire may have died, but its actions are going to be the destruction of the new one you forged, one way or another. The G is just one way, the other is much more personal, and the wound still runs deep. Wounds that we're also both responsible for.
That we're both... Oh, the Darrow! You think back and you can only think of one thing. The gnomes? You ask. The gnomes?
Correct. My daughter has clumsily acquired info on the Redcap Kingdom over the years, but I trust my visions more. If any of this is remotely accurate, they plan on committing mass genocide to everything in the area. This apparently will be done with a combination of weapons only their expertise in technology could have brought forth. It will also be done far above the ground. What, from the air? What, did they figure out how to fly or something? You hear a small chuckle in your head from Samra. I see that you have not been very observant of the gnomes. You probably just heard that they have become less peaceable creatures, but the reality is much more than that. In their war for survival against the Xi, they have been developing technology that can kill as quickly, if not as elegantly, as battle magic. Their most recent inventions have been strange flying machines, airships, for a lack of a better word. From these, they rain down explosive death on the Xi. This is a lot of information to assess, but thanks to your link to Semra, you can actually sense no trickery from her. She has indeed been having visions similar to how Trog has them, except perhaps stronger. Okay. So basically, I should just let the Xi and gnomes continue fighting until they wipe each other out to the point where no one is a threat. You can't afford to do that, lover. Letting them battle it out hasn't worked. That's what my fool daughter thought, and it's proven to be a failure. The Xi and the gnomes have managed to avoid extinction, despite being at each other's throats for decades now. The Xi have just expanded towards our direction, and the gnomes are just developing more powerful weapons. If it keeps going, this war is going to ultimately engulf the entire area, and chaos will ensue. The line needs to be held here in Arrett, if only to prevent the spread, and that's what you're needed here. So I've heard. Your daughter mentioned an ancient magic weapon that would only work if I helped charge it or something. Semra's voice chuckles again. Yes, that was her way of insolently describing me, though I suppose it isn't too far off as a description. Really, though, it isn't a true solution. Basically, you and I would join our energy together and form a protective barrier over the city. Something great enough that I doubt if even the gnome weapons could penetrate it, and I know the Xi wouldn't be able to dig through it. You can't believe that would be an option. This sounds pretty sketchy, that somehow I would be a convenient answer to the problem. I mean, you've got other mages here, and your daughter. My daughter is a charlatan. She has learned no real magic herself. As I've said, she's only taps into my powers, which is why she can cast magic in the first place. As for the other Svelk, most of them are pretenders as well. The few that do have magical talent, they wouldn't be able to handle the full might of my magic either. But you are different. You actually have the ability, the power. I know because I trained you myself, and what I didn't teach you, Casimir certainly did. You and I could join together and survive the oncoming disruption like we did before. Yeah, because that turned out so well, right? I was in stasis for 500 years, and you, well, just look at yourself. You're better off dead. Am I to join your fate when I join with you in this magic spell that is supposedly to save the city? And why would I want to save a city full of Svelk? Because you could be their ruler. What difference does it make when, in the scheme of things, you do not really care about your subjects so much as you care about the power you wield over them? I have seen your thoughts. Lately you've been dwelling on your own death, and who to be worthy to take your place. Let me answer both questions. Nobody will ever be worthy to take your place. Your empire, what you have built, will fall, even if you do manage to save it from the Xi invasion and the inevitable revenge of the gnomes. You will be forgotten in time. But I'm offering you a chance to avoid that fate. I'm offering you the kind of immortality, the chance to be in power forever. Yes, it is true. You would be confined to a state similar to mine, but you do not know the true power of the mind. Your body might be a prison, but your mind would never be. I could teach you if you must just join with me. As strange as it seems, Semra's words do hold a little weight. Immortality is appealing, and lording it over the Svelk would probably be amusing, but for what cost? Semra claims that her mind allows her freedom in a way that her physical body never could, but you just can't see living like that voluntarily. You might be facing your own mortality soon, but if that's going to happen, then that's how it shall be. The future hasn't been written yet as far as you're concerned. Plus, there's also the fact that Semra just wants someone to join her in a living death misery. Who better than you? Semra, I've listened to your offer and indulged you long enough. I decline, and will deal with the threats to my empire on my own terms. Now then, I trust you have the ability to let me go. Semra says nothing. For a moment, you think you're going to have to make a threat. While you aren't sure if you'll actually be able to take down the magical field around her, you give it a good try. It doesn't come to that, though, and soon another portal opens up. Oh, hi Ludwig, welcome back. Go then. You will see that I am right, though, and you will come back to me. You know we were meant to be together, Semra remarks. Well, thanks to your daughter, your nation has officially declared war, so perhaps you're right. Maybe I will be back with an entire army, you answer. I'll be looking forward to that day, lover. You step through the portal and find yourself back in your palace, where things are in turmoil.
Your return quells things down, though. Unfortunately, Edilith got away. Apparently, she did escape through another portal. You aren't worried, though. She'll pay for what she did. The Svelk won't have to wait for the G to overrun them. You'll get there first. Years pass. Oh, boy. 557? Okay. Save. And refresh. Whew! Man, things are spicing up. Okay, so I think we can see the end in sight. We just have to take out the Svelk, the G, and the gnomes. Just a small order of business. Okay. Year 557. We're now 57. Arat is nearly yours. Well, what's left of it anyway. Even after you take it completely, there is still a matter of holding it, and that will certainly be a great task. One you even wonder if you'll live to see. Wait, we already took the city? In 2 years, we took over the city? Damn! The aches and pains in your body continue to get worse with age. You tire a lot easier, and you get short of breath at times. Everyone tells you that you shouldn't be anywhere close to the battlefield, but you can't help it. It's the only place you feel you truly belong, and it gives you a thrill even if you're not doing a lot of active fighting nowadays. To be quite honest, this war has been a blessing for you, as there is no end in sight. It allows you to focus on something other than the mundane things like economy or civics. It allows you to put off the task of finding your successor. You don't even care anymore. You've come to the conclusion that when your days are done in this world, whoever gets the empire is whoever is strong enough to hold it. If that means it disintegrates and falls into the abyss, then so be it. The empire fell once before and you revived it. It can do it again. Only 4 major cities to conquer, and the Arid Confederacy will be resigned to the history books. But they have proven much harder to crack, mainly because of the G and Red Cap interference. Arid is a massive war zone, and now all the major players are involved. Zoe was the toughest nut to crack in terms of fighting, but perhaps the easiest in some ways, as there was no other elements to make things complicated. It was a straight-up battle, and it only defied you mainly due to the hatred of orcs, which make up the largest part of your armies. It is almost unfortunate that the entire city population had to be practically eradicated because its citizens were certainly the bravest and had to be the best soldiers in this war. Valesia was next. The crime lords there practically opened the gates for you. If it was a choice between suffering Zoe's fate or being ruled by the Empire, there was no choice at all. After all, crime always exists somewhere in societies, no matter how hard a government tries to stomp it out. The crime lords there no doubt assumed they could just switch sides and slither into the underworld that exists in the Empire. Most of them were wrong. You couldn't be worrying about petty gang violence between warring factions. You needed another city on the front lines contributing to the war efforts. You immediately had all the leaders seized up, determined which ones were the most efficient, and made him governor, while the rest were executed. Hand Cannon Harry was grateful, and now knows that the city will ultimately run for the Empire purposes first, and whatever criminal activity he has going on comes second. You're the boss. Nice! I am leaving the stream now. Bye-bye. Thanks, Miku Farmer. Hope you have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye. Atenil, ever the bootlicking city to Linné, of course, fought back, though not very well. The only reason why it posed any problems is due to Linné's forces attempting to bail them out, and the G incursions, which have started to become more of a problem by this point. It was during this battle that your armies had begun facing all sorts of heavy G opposition. Semra was right. There are an awful lot of them, and they attack in waves with no regard for their own lives. They also make their first strikes mainly from below. In fact, that's what ultimately ended the siege of Atenil. Towards the end, its citizens threw open the gates, begging you to destroy the G who had managed to enter the city before you did. By the time it was all said and done, the G had destroyed half the city before you managed to beat back the infiltration. Your Kobold commando units have been doing a good job at blocking off tunnels or creating new ones to form counterattacks. But again, there are just so many of them that for every 10 you kill, it seems like 100 take their place. To make matters worse, the Red Caps have been making excursions into Arat via their airships. You've only managed to catch a sight of few of them from a distance, but others have described them to you in great details. Great big oval-shaped contraptions that seem to move by propellers and some sort of gas that keeps them aloft. At least that's how someone tried to explain it to you. Really, you never got all of that science stuff. Just as Semra had mentioned in your visits with her, they've been bombing indiscriminately on the G and your own troops. You've yet to take one of those airships down, mainly because they never stay long enough in the battle, and certainly not in any battle that you've personally participated in. They float in to cause destruction and then leave, though you have noticed that they have been going in a particular direction, namely towards the city-state that they have always remained a mystery. Tellus. Now, Linné is all that remains of the Arid Confederacy, and it's making sure that all attackers will not stomp out its presence with ease. A magic barrier has formed around the city, and probably extends far below the earth as well, otherwise the G would have gone under it. The barrier has proven impenetrable to all known weapons and magic, or at least anything your soldiers can throw at it. Given how strong it is, you can only guess that Semra is having a direct hand in the matter. So much for her claims that you were needed to create the barrier in the first place. Then again, she did imply that she merely needed your help to keep her from using up all of her power. Usually a siege mentality isn't very successful. Certainly didn't work for the Falcons. But the Svelg seem to be content on waiting everything out while you and the G slaughter each other. They may have even been building up that will to change the tide of the war. Probably are. So, once again, it's all falling onto you. You're the only one that has the magic remotely powerful enough to bring down the barrier, and even then you might need help. You half wonder if taking the barrier down is going to kill you, but if it comes to that, then so be it. But there might be a more pressing concern. The recent appearance of the gnomes and their travels towards Tellus makes you wonder if you shouldn't direct your attention towards them. Semra did warn you about them. Their recent action of bombing your own troops hasn't exactly proven her wrong. It's just a question of what you want to spend your time and resources on. Making a long trip towards Tellus, probably through G-occupied territory, and then face whatever the gnomes have there, which you have no intel on, or bring down the barrier and continue to fend off the G in the meantime. Both of those are probably going to result in considerable losses. Okay, chat, please don't make it a split vote this time. Strategy time. Take down the barrier and go after... take down the barrier or go after the gnomes. No promises. I expected nothing less from you guys. I fully expect you guys to make it a 50-50 split again. Oh, curse my luck. Let me enjoy this drink quick. Okay. No! Oh my gosh, another draw. Another draw. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm thinking the best thing is to go after the gnomes. We need information. What we understand right now is that the Svelk are hiding. They are hiding behind that barrier. So it's probably in our best interests to that wasn't fast. That went fast. Yeah. I'm thinking that we go after the gnomes. Because again, we already know that the Svelg basically don't have magic. The only person who has magic is Semra. So I think take out the gnomes before they develop technology, before they split the atom. Okay, here we go. Save. And refresh. We are going after the gnomes. Oh, wow. 2 votes? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. You're not wasting any more time on Linné, and as much as you'd love to put a blade into Edelith from your last encounter, she's not worth the time either. The Arid Confederacy is no longer a concern. Let the G have Linné if they want to continue throwing bodies at it. The gnomes are the greater threat. They've already got the ships that fly in the air, and who knows what the hell they have planned. Maybe if you take Tellus, you can also gain the knowledge of how to build such machines, because so far the experiments by your own inventors haven't had much success. The first thing you have to do is order a withdrawal from the Linné area. This confuses your officers, but other than the General Ingrid, who insists the city can be taken, they all just follow your commands, as does Ingrid after a bit of arguing. The next thing you do is have the major wounded. That's such a bad sentence, sorry. The next thing you do is have the majority of your wounded transferred back to Vizier or Antonil. The G are still a major concern in the area, and hopefully the wounded will get well before the G start advancing on those cities, because they're going to need all the extra protection they can get. You also send a message to Sightmaster Cowley to send a full battalion of eyes. You tell him to take them away from security positions if he has to, because you anticipate that you're going to need extra magic power. You also tell Cowley that if you fall in battle, then he's officially the successor of the Empire. A bit of an abrupt way of passing this decision on, but there it is at last. If he decides to use this as an excuse to stage a coup later, you'll have to deal with it later. But then again, you doubt if you've really got much time more anyway for later. Oh, it really feels like we're coming to the end of the story. The next step is making the long march to Tellus. You know where it is, but even if you didn't, you could just follow the occasional airship in the far distance. Unfortunately, you have a feeling that if you're close enough to see them at all, the crews aboard such things could probably see your massive forces heading their way as well. There's nothing for it though. Arat has always been pretty open, and there's no real way to hide a force as large as yours. You half hope some of those airships make a detour towards you so you can call down some lightning storms on them, from the same way you did on the sea monstrosity years ago, but none of them do. The Ji, however, give you more than enough trouble on your journey. You continue to be impressed by the Ji's tenacity to completely abandon any sense of self-preservation. They exceeded orcs even in that regard, and that's something you thought you'd never see. Oof, another time skip. If there was a way you could have had them fighting for you instead, you wouldn't have had to waste so many years rebuilding the Empire in the first place. You could have just had it immediately. You watch in the distance as some of the kobolds take down a single Ji warrior. That's something you never thought you'd see, fighting alongside kobolds of all creatures, and them actually being some of your best soldiers within their limited capabilities. Funny that you should respect or find a certain affinity to such non-human races like orcs, kobolds, or even the Ji than you do with the humans. Then again, maybe it's because you've never truly been human. You're just masquerading as one. After a week of marching through Ji-infested territory, Tellus is finally in sight, and from where you're standing, you see it being besieged by the Ji. Unlike Lene, however, Tellus doesn't have the benefit of an impenetrable magical barrier defending it. It does, however, have several airships launching all manner of explosions and gunfire to the area around the city. Cool! It's like that scene from Starship Troopers. While the bugs are coming out of the ground. It would seem the gnomes are reluctant to damage Tellus itself, though some of that is probably unavoidable, but the reason isn't clear. Are the gnomes Tellus's allies? From what you've heard, Tellus does have a human population, so it seems unusual that the gnomes would be helping them given their new outlook on life. Unless they're invaders as well, just don't want their potential prize destroyed. In any event, you're somewhat glad that the Ji are involved. It gives the gnomes another target and divides their attention from you. Seeing as the gnomes are less willing to blow up Tellus itself, you figure your best course of action is to get your army into the city right away. Actually, getting in doesn't look like it'll be a large problem, thanks to the efforts of the Ji. The problem lies more with the fighting your way through the Ji while avoiding potential bombings from the gnomes. All available mages are ordered to put up shields, and all soldiers are ordered to protect them while making the long march toward Tellus, or else nobody is going to make it to the city after all. It's not a long distance, but it feels like one. Explosion after explosion crashes down on the magical shields. Since your shields are simple ones, the Ji simply dig under them and attack that way, but the soldiers do a good job of keeping them from killing your mages. You do your part by supporting the magical energy required for this feat. It's a great strain on you, but you try to block out the pain. You can see the Tellus Gate wide open, and it reminds you of the day when the Falcon capital fell to your forces. What a glorious victory that was. Advance! Kill everything! They can't stop us! Not the Ji and not the gnomes and their machines! We will be the last ones standing. Remember the long after the worms have eaten all of their corpses. Long live the Empire! Long live the Emperor! You shout. While it is a simple speech meant to encourage the surrounding troops, your last line was probably a little strange since you're the Emperor, and it sounds odd. Of course, you realize this soon after you've said it because you temporarily forget what the hell time period you're in. Get focused, you mumble. Memory lapses aside, your army continues to battle its way into the city. Some of your people have already reached the entryway, and that's when a large rumbling noise is heard from the city, and then the ground begins to shake. Wait, the city's gonna start walking? The shaking soon becomes more violent, tremors, to the point that the ground starts to crack, and that's not from the Ji digging. Many of your people have a hard time keeping their footing, and during this time, some of the mages lose their concentration. This is a fatal mistake, which soon results in the entire companies being blown to pieces by the airships to continue dumping bombs from above. The airships aren't the only things that are flying now, though. A loud rumbling continues along the earth shaking, and you soon see what's going on. It's Tellus! The city is rising off the ground! Whatever the hell the gnomes have been doing, this has to be a part of it. They've created a flying city! I am so glad we got here before the city took off. I mean, imagine if we'd beaten the Svelg and then had looked up and saw a flying city. What would we have done? The gnomes have already displayed a significant amount of power with their airships. With this city, they could very well be unstoppable. The questions about how and why, when they did this will have to wait. What matters now is that you have to stop them. The city has only started to rise, and it's taking long enough time that you see several G and your own troops grabbing onto what they can before it's completely out of reach. You're either going to have to destroy it or capture it. If you were younger, you would unleash a firestorm or something similar without another thought, but that's a risky endeavor in your condition for several reasons. Capturing it is probably going to be even harder, especially since you're going to have to board the damn thing. You might reach it in time if you make a full dash towards it now, but that would no longer be supporting the mages to defend the rest of your army. Do we destroy the city or do we capture it? I know what I want to do. I know what I want to do, but I'm also afraid to do push-ups, so I'm hoping that you guys will choose for us. Big choice. Destroy the flying city. Capture the flying city. Boom. This is a big one. Come on, chat. Come on, chat. Vote, 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 vote. I want to know. I want to know. Bum, 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 bum. Ding, ding, ding. Time's up. Whew, that was close. Okay, we're going to capture the city. Yay, that's exactly what I want to do. And at least this time I won't have to do push-ups. It does mean we're going to probably lose our ground army. Okay. Refresh. And swap. Okay, here we go. Probably a fool's task, but if you survive this, you're going to have to still deal with the G. A flying fortress would give a significant advantage. You stop using your own energy to support your mages and refocus on creating a personal shield around yourself. You can, you give the order for everyone to get out of your way and grab onto the Tellus if they can. It isn't too bad. Most of your mages hold their own and continue to protect the majority of the army. But it's you yourself that you're concerned about as you attempt to reach Tellus, which is slowly becoming completely airborne. You ride your horse as hard to the point where it probably isn't going to survive after you intend to make a leap forward off of it. You pass your soldiers and pass the G fighting them. You pass over the torn up ground from the battle and bombs as you look to see Tellus escaping your reach. No, I've come too far, you say as you stand atop your horse, nearly falling off in the process while still attempting to upkeep your shield. You make the jump towards the city and manage to grab a hold of Tellus's front gate doors, which is currently hanging off its hinges. Your shield is down, your body hurts, and you're practically deaf from all the explosions going on around you. You hang on for dear life as the ground gets further away and attempts to climb up, but your strength is failing you, and even if it wasn't, the door is slowly losing its weak attachment to the rest of the city. Shit, 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 no, 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 not like this, frick, I hate this weakness, you exclaim as you prepare to either lose your grip or for the door to come loose, as you doubt you'll be in any condition to repair yourself should you take this long fall. Fortunately, it doesn't come to that. Emperor, take my hand, a human soldier shouts as he reaches over the side. You waste no time in accepting for his help, and soon a couple of other soldiers help you lift you up in time for the door to fall to the ground. After catching your breath and assuring the soldiers that helped you that you're fine, you get a better assessment of your surroundings. Okay, first things first, what's your name so I know what to call you? Lieutenant Renly, my emperor, and this is what's left of my platoon, Renly says and waves his arm to 6 other soldiers. We're not the only ones here. I believe there are a couple of orc platoons further in the city. They're probably fighting the G that managed to get in or combating the gnome clockwork golems. Hell, even the teams of gnomes with their rapid repeaters isn't something you want to deal with, and that's not even counting the ones probably trying to spot us from the nearby airships. So wait, there are no humans or regular citizens in this place, you ask? Not from what anyone can tell. It's like the whole place is empty other than the G, the gnomes, and us, unless Tellus' citizens are hiding somewhere. Or maybe the gnomes did something to them all. Well, it doesn't matter. We need to figure out what the hell the controls are for this thing. We get control and we get rid of the airships with a lot more ease. Not sure where something like that would be located, Emperor. That's easy. We keep moving towards the areas that have the most of the little bastards and their damn contraptions. It's going to be the most heavily defended place because it's the most important thing in the world to them. Well, then I believe we should take a left down the street over there. Saw a gnome patrol accompanied by 2 clockworks not long ago. Okay, but when possible, we should probably stick to the back alleys. Don't need one of those airships floating by and spotting us. In fact, our best chance is to do this as stealthily as possible. A rare tactic for us, I know, but our main task is getting control of this thing. You, Renly, and the rest of his platoon make your way towards where you hope some sort of master control is located. Along the way, you see the remnants of where the small skirmishes have already taken place. Bodies riddled with bullets, or in some cases chopped up. They're mostly bodies of Ji, but some of your soldiers as well. You don't see any gnome casualties other than pieces of their golems. The sound of battle can be heard throughout the city, but it gets concerning when the sound gets less infrequent, since that means the gnomes are probably mopping up invaders of their city, which means less distractions for them. Your attempts at sneaking around are fairly successful. As you stealthily avoid these patrols, you finally see the gnomes, and you can't get over how radically they've changed. With their dark red caps, goggles, and stylish leather uniforms, they couldn't look any more different than their pathetic ancestors that you helped round up centuries ago to have their souls utterly obliterated. Really though, after an event like that, who knows what else during the cataclysm you'll suppose? It shouldn't be surprising that gnomes decided they wouldn't be victims and became hostile towards other races, let alone rely on other societies to defend them any longer. They shape their own destiny, and you can certainly respect or even admire that. After all, you never hated them. That was the Emperor. You were just following orders at the time. Eventually, gnome patrols are getting too thick, and you can't really properly proceed without engaging the enemy. Just as well, you were getting sick of acting like a shadow. All right, everyone get ready, because it's going to be killing time from here on in. I'll take the lead on this. Emperor, you should stay behind so we can better protect you, Renly replies. While I approve the sentiment, I've been doing this a lot longer than you have. If anything, you should all try to stay behind me and in cover until I clear out most of the rabble. Don't worry, I may be old, but I'm not out of this yet. And if you survive this, you'll all be getting promotions or whatever else I think might be an appropriate reward. So it behooves you all to listen to me if you want to reap those benefits of this situation. With this understanding, Renly and his platoon follow your lead. Still unseen, you take advantage of the group of gnomes tatting around with their clockwork creations. You unleash a flurry of fireballs, which not only has the desired effect of killing some of the gnomes outright, but also causing an explosion due to their hand-thrown bombs they carry on them. The explosion takes care of the gnomes. That's one group down, but the rest of them aren't going to be easy, you say, as you advance with a shield up. Not easy is correct, because little bastards are coming out in full force. You just try not to get surrounded. The unrelenting repeater weapons are bad enough, but the gnomes also come out with weapons that emulate some of your spells. A single gnome has managed to sneak up on two of Renly's men, blast them with some sort of weapon that emits flames. Renly shoots the gnome in the head before turning his attention to grab one of the repeaters from a nearby dead gnome. They're all coming out of the big red building. That's probably where we need to go. Come on, you shout. And take out another golem. During the carnage, you think back to how you used to mainly use your sword during battles. During this one, you haven't even used it yet. In fact, you haven't done so for so long, you wonder if you'd even be able to use it effectively anymore. Granted, in this situation like this, you've practically got no choice but to rely on your magic. Still, though, you miss the good old days. The closer you get to the building, the waves of gnomes lessens, until you see one of them close the door, just as the last few gnomes are shot to pieces. The sky above you grows darker, and you notice an airship looming overhead. They don't throw bombs at you, but they certainly unleash a volley of gunfire, which manages to kill another one of Renly's platoon before he and the rest can get into cover. As for you, your shield is working just fine, but you need to get into that building, which is probably locked and barricaded. You aren't going to be able to blast it open with that airship firing at you. Ooh, short chapter. Okay, yeah, it feels like we're really speeding up here. Refocus the shield to repel the bullets back. Whoops. Just a second. Refocus the shield. What to do? Or launch a fireball at the airship. Start poll. I'll try my best. I'll make you do push-ups. Hey, wait a minute. Oh, wait, I haven't started the timer. That gives me time to drink. 10, 9, 8. Oh, man. I'm wondering, though. I'm thinking that we might be able to find a weakness. Like, if they use gas and fire might be their weakness. So, yay, we're going to launch a fireball at the ship anyway. Lucky us. Okay, launch a fireball at the ship. Probably a fool's task, but if you survive this, you're going to... Wait. Uh-oh. Better way to get them to stop shooting at you is to return the favor with superior firepower. Literally, you unleash a torrent of fireballs at the airship, which lands all over the place. Some hit the guns shooting at you, which causes it to explode. In fact, other than you, your hits cause several explosions, and then the large one creating a blast that knocks you back down to the ground, even if you were standing. The airship is in flames and falling out of the sky. Unfortunately, since it's directly hovering up over the city, that means it crashes into it. You scramble off your feet and hope to find some sort of cover and maybe get away from where the major impact is going to be. You keep your barrier up to protect yourself from the falling debris, but Renly and the others have no chance of this at all, especially with the airship begins hitting the larger buildings, causing them to collapse and setting what looks to you like the whole sky ablaze. When the airship finally hits the city's surface, it is engulfed by fire, and the impact strikes your barrier so hard that even you are pushed away from force. Your entire body hits the ground and you lose concentration of your spell. Fire is all around you and you pass out. You never wake up to experience Tellus falling out of the sky and causing even greater explosions on the surface. Whoops. Okay, we're gonna send the bullets back. We're gonna send the bullets right back at them. Okay, here we go. Refresh. Dead. Okay, normally you don't do this because repelling projectiles actually takes more focus than flinging fireballs or putting up a shield in the first place. But you need to take out all the guns firing on you with their own bullets, and then you'll get the breather you need. You refocus the shield, and sure enough, the bullets are repelled back towards the guns that are firing on you. It isn't an exact hit, but enough of them hit their own guns, or in this case, the gunner, enough that it puts them out of commission. Other bullets either go flying off wildly into the air or other parts of the airship. In any case, you hit something that causes a problem since you see and hear minor explosions, which the gnomes are probably busily trying to contain. The airship shudders in the sky a bit, but it isn't falling out of the sky, which it probably would have done if you'd lobbed hunks of fire at it. Whoops. Taking advantage of the respite, you and your soldiers take what explosives they found on the bodies of the gnomes and pile them up against the building's door, and you hurl a fireball at it. Naturally, it not only explodes spectacularly, but it also succeeds in destroying a couple of golems that were waiting to ambush you. You and the others run inside before the airship above you manages to get its guns working again. When you get inside, you see that the building consists of a lot of desks and generally laid out like a bureaucratic office. You briefly think that this maybe was all for nothing and your hunch was wrong. But sure enough, when the automated repeater pods pops out from the floor and puts several holes in one of Renly's platoon, and more gnomes appear from the trapdoors in the floor, you're fairly certain you're on the right track. You and Renly's ever-dwindling platoon take care of your assailants though at this point they're probably hoping there aren't too many more. Glad this building doesn't have multiple floors, one soldier remarks. Still, it might. These golems come out of the floor. There might be several basement levels, Renly points out. It can't be too far down. The city's flying in the air now. It's not like there's going to be a Darrow complex, you say, peering door one of the trapdoors. Darrow? Renly asks. Oh, before your time, I suppose. They were subterranean race that were primarily hostile isolationists and had a knack for technology. Sort of like the current gnomes, I suppose. I always wondered if they were related in some way, to be honest. Are they? And they were enemies? Allies, actually. Well, they were. Anyway, I imagine whatever is causing the city to fly would be located right under it. So we might as well start searching there, especially since the rest of this building looks like an oversized office rather than an example of engineering. You all descend down into one of the trapdoors and find yourself in a small, narrow corridor. Not so small that you can't move around, but certainly small enough that you have to crouch down. Even at the best of times, your body aches. This bending and stooping routine just makes it worse for you. The corridors are also filled with a light steam with gears and pumps and other manners of machinery that you assume is keeping the city afloat. A noisy hum and the occasional jarring metal on metal screeches also surround you, and you briefly wonder just how much solid stone floor is between you and the sky right now. Guess the gnomes designed this part of the city, Renly says. Never thought I'd say this, but I wish they were kobolds right about now, another soldier remarks. All right, let's focus. The good thing about this corridor is that I can easily shield us from any attacks from the front or the back, but you're going to have to fire upon any enemy that attacks us. If I start throwing magic bolts or whatever around here, I'm liable to damage something severely and send this thing crashing to the ground with us. You travel the corridors for what you believe to be an hour at least. It twists and turns, but you remain convinced that somewhere down here is the control room. In the meantime, more gnomes attempt to stop you, and while they have better maneuverability with your shield continues to protect everyone, and you fend off attacks. At least they're sticking with guns now, one of the soldiers says. They don't really have a choice. Explosives or flame weapons could damage all these gears that are involved in holding up the place, Renly remarks. While your followers make minor comments about the situation, you begin to notice a slight change in the surroundings. The mist that fills the corridor is dissipating. The floors have become steel, and there's actually walls covering the previously exposed engineering. It suddenly occurs to you that the gnomes haven't actually finished this place up yet, and you are now seeing the areas that took priority. We are nearing the control room, you say. We are, Renly says. I'm sure of it. Wouldn't there be more defenses? I think we're nearing it. We're not actually there yet. For all I know, the actual control room has shit we've never seen before, you answer. Oh, it does, Eternal. It does. Come on and see, you hear a voice say nearby. You and the others look around at each other. Just continue a little bit forward and turn the corner. Don't worry, you've killed all my people, but then you were always an expert at such things, weren't you? A voice says. You then follow the voice. You enter a room filled with a bunch of technical equipment and machines. You have no idea what any of it does, but it certainly is a technological feat that you've only seen matched by Marek when he was growing tank babies. Also in the room is a single gnome sitting in a chair, dressed in a traditional leather uniform. You've seen others of his kind wearing. He also sports the same bushy facial hair and red cap that they all seem to favor. The only thing that causes him to stand out is that he's obviously older than the ones you've been fighting, and he's wearing explosives around his waist with a wire attached to the other device he's gripping tightly in his hand. Ah, he's gonna Sudoku us! The other thing that stands out is that he's completely unconcerned about you or your soldiers pointing their weapons at him. You know this really was one of our greatest works. It's going to be a shame to destroy it, but anything is better than letting it fall into your hands. Can't let a gnome killer like you have it, can we? The gnome remarks. You speak as if you know me, and I don't mean by my present reputation. You speak as if you know me from the past, you say. Oh, not personally, but my family's ancestors told me stories about you. Yeah, great ancestor Kalmo made sure the story got passed down so something like Gnome's Home could never happen again. One of the few gnomes you didn't manage to round up and have systematically slaughtered. Well, I see your mind is made up. No point in debating the issue, you answer. Oh no, please, I'd love to hear your defenses on the matter. I could use a good laugh before I blow us all up. At this point, having one of your soldiers shoot him would be counterproductive. He just released the switch when he died. Rushing the gnome would likely have the same result. Your only option is to cast a freeze spell and encase his hand in a solid block of ice. The problem with that right now is that you're exhausted. You have to stall for a little time, so you could muster up the energy to do it right now. So you stall for time and engage the gnome in conversation. I was just following orders, you say. Really now? That's your defense? The gnome asks. It's not a defense because I don't think I have anything to defend against. The Emperor, Casimir, hated your kind, not I. Why he hated your people so intensely, I cannot say because I never fully understood the depths of it. He gave reasons, but as I said, I believe there was more to it. It doesn't matter though, since I merely acted on his orders. So, you were just a blindly loyal soldier just doing your duty, huh? At the time, yes. Look, if you want me to beg for my life, you'll not get it here. I didn't begin my life as an eternal begging, so I certainly am not going to end my life begging. I see. I suppose I should have known your arrogance and lack of emotions would prevent you from such actions, the gnome remarks, but you cut him off. Funny you should say that, since you would think someone with such an arrogant and lack of emotions would understand, you say. What? This flying fortress. Of all your airships, you really expect me to believe you designed them for peaceful purposes? We had to protect ourselves. Against the G? Yes, I can see that. But you've been bombing us as well, and we didn't even declare war on you. Bah, you would have eventually, and your pathetic attempts at comparing us bombing your soldiers and you rounding up our gnome civilians for slaughter is laughable. I wasn't actually. I'd say that would be closer to what you did to the original citizens of this city. So, what did you do with Talus's original citizens? The gnome begins to get annoyed. Nothing. The city was always ours. Bullshit. Maybe this place was wrapped in mystery, but not such to the degree that it wasn't known that humans lived here, or at least they used to live here. Just looking at the buildings, one can tell that this place was originally designed for humans rather than the smaller architecture that makes up these corridors. So how did you go about it? I'm actually curious how you managed to wipe out an entire city without anyone getting a hint of what was going on. I know from your reputation that you don't associate with other races any longer, so I can only assume you had the citizens of the city done away with long before you actually moved in and started making this place into a flying city. Perhaps, maybe like something similar that was done to the gnomes? The gnome now actually gets off his chair, and both his hands are balled up in anger,
which is good since you want him to grip that kill switch as tight as possible. It was completely different situation, the gnome exclaims. Was it? Your ancestor says we rounded up gnomes to be slaughtered. What he probably didn't know, since he was avoided capture, is how we did it. We didn't just kill them. We completely obliterated their souls. It's what the Emperor wanted. Then again, you lot probably didn't go that far. No magical skill to speak of. So I guess that's why you like your mechanical toys so much. You're going to pay for your crimes, you evil bastard. When I release the switch, my only regret is going to be that you won't suffer. No doubt. It's a shame since the real culprit won't taste your justice after you blow us all up. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the main executioner. Maybe I rounded up some and killed a few, and the Emperor gave his orders, but there was one in particular who was enjoying the job around the clock. She's still alive too, you know, or maybe you didn't. She isn't very mobile or social these days. All I'll say is she's a Svelk, and she's the mother of that bitch that's currently running Lene. Well, assuming Lene hasn't been overrun by the G. Enough! This ends now, the gnome yells, getting ready to release the switch. Truer words have never been spoken, you say, and you cast a blast of frost to the gnome's left hand. And fortunately, you encase his whole arm in ice before he can release his hand from the switch. You collapse to the floor from just that small feat of magic. You really do need to rest. The gnome desperately tries to break the ice, but the remaining 2 soldiers from the platoon restrain and knock him out. Take this little shit topside and throw him off the city. Renly and I will try to figure out the controls to this thing. And do it quickly. That arm won't stay frozen, and there still might be some gnomes running around, you say, and drag yourself to sit up against a nearby wall. Emperor, are you okay? Renly asks. I'm fine, just very, very tired. And unfortunately, my work isn't even done yet, you answer. But maybe, just maybe, this thing will make it a little easier at last. Yay! We captured the city! Okay, let's find out. Okay. Mysteries revealed. The gnome's plans. After successfully bringing Tellus under control and eliminating the gnomes still in the city, and either driving off or destroying the nearby airships, several notes, books, and journals are found, and it's a veritable treasure trove of information, solving more than a few mysteries and indeed confirming some of your suspicions. Tellus was mostly inhabited by humans, and perhaps a few elves, and his technological bent was due to his proximity to Marek's old factory. Apparently, during the initial days of the Cataclysm, many managed to take refuge in the place, and the survivors in time founded Tellus. One of the journals is extremely old, nearly destroyed and barely legible, but you manage to make out that the writing is a Darrow on few of the pages it has left, and to your surprise, it must be Marek's. There is no name, but the type of language used, and some of the references signify that it could only be him. Capture the city successful. Exactly! We've got a flying city that we can use against the insects. Man, that was worth our ground army. One more coherent entry catches your attention. Entry 101. I do everything around here, and those ignorant surfaces appreciate nothing. I don't need this. I am king. I mean, I'm the king of. I don't have to play the third fiddle to some eternal and his Felk. I am the damn king of the. Wow. I need to remember to eat today. Who the does he think he is telling me that my creations are no match for him? Him with a horse. I know what I'll do. I'll slaughter them all. Down them in their tanks. That'll teach them for failing me. Drown them in their tanks. That'll teach them for failing me. And then I'm leaving this with the Emperor and see his lack of vision for listening to his idiotic so-called son. That's Svelk. Perhaps... Perhaps I should work on the dirt... I think he's upset. He is hungry. He's not him when he's hungry. Perhaps I should work on dirt golems. Why not? There are stone ones and iron ones. Why not dirt? There's a bunch of dirt. I could create a load of them. And then I could be the master. Must remember to take this journal with me. This is good stuff. The remaining pages contain a lot of drawings of schematics and similar things that you guess went through Marek's insane mind, but nothing more about the tank babies, who you assume Marek had killed like he mentioned he would. He spent like decades working on that, and then he just killed them all?
you can only assume Marek himself must have died during the initial chaos of the cataclysm, due to the fact that his journal was found by survivors hiding out there, probably killed during the violent earthquakes and shockwaves that caused the cave-ins and tunnel collapses. What an edgy boy wrote this thing. That was like the chief scientist of the dwarves, who was going slightly insane. He was trying to create super soldier tank bred babies with artificial wombs as a replacement for Eternals like me. And I proved him wrong by basically killing all of his children, all of his tank babies. So he ordered the rest to be drowned, apparently. Getting back to Tellus, the place managed to maintain a better standing due to not falling into the Dark Ages so easily, and by staying closely guarded. When the Svelk found Linné, Tellus became even more unwelcoming to strangers, and effectively closed its doors to all. At least it did until the gnomes founded the Redcap Kingdom. Despite the gnomes' new outlook on life, they noticed that due to Tellus being the only other closed society that embraced technology, they secretly made a contract with them. Tellus was suspicious at first, but due to the similarities, in time the rulers of the city became more open to the idea of trade and even visits. It would be a grave mistake on their part. The population of Tellus was indeed annihilated by the gnomes, though apparently it was an insidious process, worthy of Svelk actually. They slowly and gradually poisoned the water supply, not to a degree that people were dying instantly either, just to the point where apparently they couldn't reproduce anymore, and in many cases a lowering of intelligence as well. Over the decades, eventually when the population was low enough, the gnomes offered help, and then proceeded to exterminate the rest of them in more traditional fashion. From there, they worked on turning the entire city into a flying fortress. You wonder why they didn't just do this with one of their own cities, but if you had to guess, their own cities were under constant attack by the G, especially underground, making ongoing work problematic. Hence their hasty attempt at getting this one up and running, when the G started becoming more of a problem in Arat. From what you can tell, this all started before you were even dug up, at least according to the Flemto Zootwickel's journal here. What a silly name. You're guessing he's the one that confronted you, and is now nothing more than a bloody red spot on the ground. You found some other plans and scraps of info about what the gnomes were up to recently as well, but a lot of it is pretty technical, and some of it looks biological, specifically the G. Maybe they were looking to poison the G somehow too? In any event, you decide to let your inventors and doctors take a closer look at the mess, and maybe they can figure out how to apply it. Nice. Okay. Okay. This next one is also some more detail. The fall of Linné. So Semras, the Svelk actually are gonna fall? Oh, wow. Okay. Year 558, so 1 year after we capture it. No sign of any survivors, you ask? Well, scouts say that Linné is crawling with G. Oh. If anyone has escaped, they'd have to be incredibly lucky. There aren't any Svelk suddenly running around our borders either, which would be the closest safe haven. None of their elven slaves either, David remarks. And so Linné has finally fallen. You knew as soon as that magic barrier went down, it would be the end for the city. Even Semra couldn't keep it up forever. And so ends the last living link to your past. The funny thing is, you didn't even know she was still alive until a few years ago. You look at the mithril dagger she nearly killed you with when you were in your 16th year. At the time, Semra mockingly gave it to you as some sort of twisted gift, perhaps as a reminder of your failure to kill her. You kept it, of course, as a reminder of your failure as well, but also with every intention of killing her with it one day. Of course, that personal goal was given up long ago, and even if you still did harbor that motive for revenge, the G have deprived you of that. You are more disappointed that you didn't get to kill Edelith, but you guess she got hers as well. As you study the dagger and fondle it, you ask David if there's been any activity by the gnomes. Well, after we destroyed all their airships, I don't believe any of them managed to escape the G either. The G have finally completely overrun the Redcap Kingdom. If they aren't all dead already, they soon will be. We are the last hope against the G, my emperor. You acknowledge. Last hope isn't quite the term you've been successful with. You were supposed to be the last hope for the Empire too, and you end up destroying it. So much it turned out differently from what you expected. Yeah, we're the whole reason the G came here. You have another realization, which for you is just indirectly carried out the elimination of the gnomes due to your actions. Over 500 years later, Casimir's wish has finally been fulfilled. Feels odd that you managed to serve him in this last capacity. Casimir and Semra, the closest thing you had to parents. that you've ever known, and everything you are today is partly due to their influence in one way or another. Snapping out of your introspection, you address David more directly. Begin moving our reserve armies towards Arat. Regnick will be our main hub of operations in the area, and we'll start sending out the new airships of ours to start bombing the G as soon as possible. Can't rely on this oversized flying fortress to do all the work, you say. Very well, it shall be done, David replies and turns to leave. Oh, David, here, take this. You hold out the mithril dagger for him to take. What's this for? David asks, taking the dagger. To dispose of. I have no more need of it, you answer. Yo! Wow! Okay. Hi, everyone. The connection here isn't so good, so I'll just try to drop in and say hi. Hey, Namamare! Hi. How you doing? Hope everything's going well. Hope you're eating well. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, so basically, we met Samra. Mistress survived. And, yeah, she's not doing so well. She's basically a corpse in a chair, and she's been eaten by bugs now. So, our mother issues are finally resolved. We literally just gave away the dagger that we got right at the beginning of the story. So, yeah, we're very close to the end of the story now, I think. We've defeated the Svelk. We've defeated the gnomes. We've defeated the fish people. All that is left are the bugs. Okay, back to the story. Ooh, year 560. Okay, we are now 60 years old. Okay. Year 560. Emperor, the Ji have made their first incursions into Kuala, David remarks. Sigh, it was only a matter of time, I suppose. The damn bugs just can't seem to be wiped out, even with this floating fortress and the new airships we've created. Have we lost Arat completely? No, but the only city left is Regnick, and is slowly becoming overrun. It probably won't last another week despite the carpet bombing we've done around the area. Kuala is having problems as well, and the last reports state that Warlord Sprog fell in battle. No! Sprog died! You sometimes wonder if the Ji are some sort of force of nature, taking everything back from the other races that have caused so much turmoil and strife. Like the other races had in their day in the sun at some point, and it is now the time of the Ji to rise to power. Of course, you've never been one for giving into fate or destiny, so your main concern is how to deal with this seemingly unstoppable foe. Fortunately, yeah, basically everyone we know is dead. All we have left is the bugs to face. Fortunately, after you took Tellus, now called Apex, from the gnomes, you found some rather interesting notes on how it might be possible, and your brightest and best have been attempting to decipher them. Technology wasn't the only thing the gnomes were working on. They were also working on a bunch of stuff to do with biology. Apparently, they had plans to design and release some sort of germ that would kill all of the Ji. They're going to use biological warfare! Sounds like a blessing, but the problem is you have no idea how long that's going to take. You have your inventors and your doctors and wise people, but honestly, they're only going by a few found pieces of scrap and half-thought-out plans from a race of people now no longer around. Nobody has even had this sort of idea before, using an unseen organism as a weapon. But then nobody has had the idea to create weapons that could destroy entire buildings or allow one unskilled peasant to murder an entire squad of swordsmen at one time either. In the meantime, you're still left with the same problems. You have to fend off the Ji from destroying the Empire. You're doing your best, but you have to admit the outlook is grim. Just as you're about to give David your list of commands for the day, you retire to your private abode. David tells you that you have an audience today. Audience? With who? I'm the only ruler left in the land, and I doubt very seriously that the Ji are wanting to speak with me about peace negotiations, you say? No, it's a regular citizen, Emperor, and no, normally you don't hold such audiences, but I thought in her case you might. It's Jennifer, David replies. Jennifer! Really? What does she want? She didn't say, other than wanting to see you. Should I tell her to reschedule? No, I suppose I can spare the time to see what she wants. I could use a diversion from all this Ji situation anyway. David nods and fetches Jennifer from the next room. You haven't seen her in a while, but she still looks about the same, just a few extra grey hairs. You have to admit, you're mildly glad to see her after dealing with the Ji day in, day out. A few pleasant greetings, you both go back to your private chambers to speak. So, it's been a long time, you say. It's been about 10 years since we were in the same room together, Jennifer answers. Has it? Time really flies. As you probably know, I've been a little busy. Apologies for not keeping in better contact. No, it's fine. Seriously, you're the Emperor, and keeping us all safe from the hostile forces is her full-time job. I always knew better than to expect that you'd be able to stay on the constant contact. Glad you understand. So where's your family? They're on the surface. My son really wanted to see the flying city, but his father, well, let's just say he wasn't fond of the idea, Jennifer says with a bit of hesitancy. It's apparent that not everything is well with her marriage, but you know not to pry. I see. Well, tell your son that the Emperor has said he can see it any time it's convenient. It isn't like the place is off limits, just difficult to get to, I suppose. Indeed, tickets for an airship here are expensive, and not many have that sort of money to throw around anymore. Anyway, about why I'm here. I've been working on another book. Another one? So what is this one about? About you, actually. I need your input with it, obviously, considering you're the main subject. A book about me, huh? Any reason why you wanted to write such a book? Why wouldn't I? You're only the most important people in history. I mean, there needs to be a records of this for when, so people don't forget your deeds. Sometimes I have to argue with idiots at the museum who don't know how good you've made things for them. At one time, people used to view the old Empire exhibit with wonder and questions. Now it seems some of them want to do is criticize it and claim it's nothing more than a pile of falsehood and lies. Some of these dissidents even have been claiming this flying city is just an example of how you believe you're so much better than they are. Haven't heard about too much dissident activity for quite some time, but then the eyes are stretched pretty thin these days. Well, some of these morons that enter the museum need to be rounded up. You're not better than them because of the flying city. You're better than them for a whole bunch of other reasons. Being a strong leader and making tough decisions that in the long run are best for all of us. I intend for my book to reinforce that needed understanding of why things you do are completely necessary. I've already managed to interview some people that have seen your greatness in action, like Captain Renly and Admiral Len. Their testimony and others will make great additions, but words from your own lips is what's most important. You see, Jennifer gets excited and fired up about things in the past, but you sort of figured such excitement would never be reserved for anything related to you again. You had thought that Jennifer had long since outgrown her worship of you when she got married and had a family, but it either never left or it had been dormant, or something had changed to cause it to revive such feelings again. Oh no! Her marriage is souring, so she's running back to an old lover? Oh no! Oh no! What am I going to do? And if you had to guess, you imagined it might have something to do with her marriage. Jennifer, while I've always appreciated your support, I doubt if any book is going to change a lot of minds. You even said not many people have disposable income these days to buy luxury items. You can't let every loudmouth with an opinion get you so upset. I'm glad you told me, and I'll even get Cowley to have some eyes look into the matter and see if it's a potential larger problem, but I think you're really upset about something else. Of course I am. I'm upset because I made the wrong choice. I followed some silly notion of wanting a normal life. I married a man who has successfully sickened me with his criticisms of government and you to the point where I cannot even stand his touch anymore. Oh. Her husband is envious of me. And of course, imagine if your partner said, yeah, my ex is an emperor or a god of the battlefield, basically. Yeah, I would also have some self-image problems. So he's been bad-mouthing me. I should have tried harder to serve you. I should have stayed with you, by your side. That's where I belong. I was a mole, and a mole always serves their ruler loyally in whatever capacity they can, Jennifer exclaims. You have no words. Even if the whole story, you probably still wouldn't have had the words. How can you condemn someone who obviously thinks so highly of you? If you had more of an ego, you'd just take advantage of the situation and let Jennifer write her book and fulfill it with propaganda and have the book be distributed for free. But you can't help but be a little grounded in reality, even if it means shooting yourself in the foot. While you don't scold Jennifer for a slightly misguided loyalty, you do feel she has the right to know the whole truth. So you start by telling her the thing you never told anyone before. You know, Jacob Mole was loyal to the Empire, but not to the Emperor. Well, at least not towards the end, you say. What? Jennifer asks. He personally killed the Emperor Casimir. Shot him in the back, actually. Jennifer is speechless. Oh, don't judge your ancestor too harshly. He was only helping me at the time, since I was doing a miserable job of attempting to kill the Emperor. Me and the true late Svelk ruler of Lene, Semra. It was a group effort, I suppose, and to be fair, Casimir was planning to have me killed despite my lifetime of loyalty. Jennifer continues to remain speechless. When we killed the Emperor, he unleashed a magic curse when he died, which messed up the entire rest of the land in various ways. Regular folks know that event best as the Cataclysm. Jennifer is finally about to speak, but you put your hand up to let her know one more thing. And the kicker of all this? A few years before Semra died, she even told me the Ji were living undisturbed deep underground, and it was only because of all the violent earthquakes that they turned their attention to the surface. All of what's going on right now is my fault. Hell, even the fact that the gnomes were also planning to bomb us into oblivion is my fault. I can tell you more about that gruesomeness, though, and you could even get Renly to confirm it, since he was there when one of the Red Cat bastards confronted me about it. I'm a usurper, a tyrant, a killer, and worse. You know what? I'm perfectly fine with that. You move closer to Jennifer. Now then, how do you think the citizens would really feel about their strong leader if they knew the truth from my own lips? Jennifer moves her own face closer to yours. It doesn't matter, because I'm writing the damn thing how I want to, Jennifer remarks. So true history doesn't matter to you, despite being dedicated to it? History is written by those in power and the winners. Perhaps some of what you told me was a surprise, but do you think I didn't have my suspicions that you probably had something to do with the death of the old emperor? Your continued vagueness of the topic even years later was a giveaway. I'm not stupid. I know what you think of me. You probably believe me to be a mindless fanatic at worst, or a misguided loyalist at best, but you could have been more wrong. I am a true patriot. My family always has been. You even said it yourself. My ancestor Jacob was loyal to the empire, but he obviously saw its ruler was lacking to its greatness. He saw that greatness in you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have helped you overthrow the Republic, or even warned Quintus that you were going to kill him. Jennifer grabs your hand. I still see that greatness in you. I always have. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. Let me be by your side again, like I should have been. Don't send me back down to the surface. Let me stay and help. Jacob looks at you hopefully, preying upon that small part of you that actually does have feelings. It's just too bad you don't feel the same strong feelings as she does for you. Ah! Chat! Please don't make me tie this. Okay, what do? Let Jennifer stay or turn her away? Oh gosh, chat, I can't. I don't want to. She's married. She has children. Nail biting, right? Ah! Okay. It's okay. Wow, that countdown went way too quick. Okay. And the results are unanimous. We're gonna ruin a marriage, people. We're ruining a marriage. We're a tyrant, a murderer, a genocider, and a marriage breaker, a home wrecker. I mean, in for a penny, in for a pound, I guess. We're letting Jennifer stay. Oh, we're united in this. Yes, we are. Okay. I mean, this is a villain protagonist after all. I guess we could add a homebreaker to our list of crimes now. Year 560. Wait. No. Refresh. That's the mild thing compared to our other past deeds. True. True. But much more personal. Again, you think. Maybe it's just because I really don't like it when people cheat. I have some horror stories that I might share with you one day. Should have probably shared that. Maybe I'll share that on the day before Valentine's Day. Some of the horror stories of my previous relationships. Yeah. Anyway. Again, you think, how can you really punish such dedication? Casimir tried to kill you for similar loyalty, and while you wouldn't kill Jennifer, sending away would most certainly be the same thing to her. While you're lucky to have someone so dedicated, and even though she explained herself somewhat, you don't really understand why. Then again, you never fully understood Semra's obsession for you either. Some motives only make sense to the mind that creates them. Very well, I'll find a place for you. But what of your son? Surely you want your son, don't you? You ask. Yes, of course I do. It's just, if I let him, he probably wouldn't care at this point. But he'd make things difficult and probably try to stop me. If I tried to take our son, Marcus, with me, then there's Marcus to think about. I can't reasonably whisk him away from his father. He still loves him. So, can you arrange for something to happen to my husband? Wait, you want me to kill him? You ask. Well, I mean, I don't know. You better make up your mind, Jennifer, because once it's done, it's permanent, you know. I know. All right, Jennifer says, and starts mumbling to herself and staring upward as if it's weighing all the pros and cons. After a few seconds, she gives you her answer. Okay, do it. Kill him. Very well. He must have really pissed you off. It's for the best in the long run. He poisons my son's mind with anti-empire ideology at times. He's practically a dissident. He might as well die, Jennifer says with absolute certainty. Though you can tell in her eyes that while she's successfully convinced herself of that, there's still some tiny part of her that is sad her marriage has come to this. Strangely, you feel a little odd doing this too. You can't even begin to count how many deaths you've inflicted or ordered, and yet this one feels weird to you. You've never even met the guy. You're essentially just going to be murdering him and taking his wife and son. On the scale of things, it's a far cry from the orchestrated genocide of an entire race, and granted, you aren't even struggling with it like you before you decided to kill Casimir, but it's just something that makes you feel a little off. Well, we'll all have horror stories like that, I'm sure. Yeah, true. True. I once got into a back and forth with a friend. It was a joke between us. I was like, why don't we play a game where we tell each other like horror stories of previous relationships and we take turns, and then we find out, like, after this back and forth of trauma dumping, we find out who wins. I won. Anyway, it was really fun. We were both laughing at it because, like, I would hear her story and I'd just be like, wow, what the hell? And then I'd be like, okay, well, here's my next one. And then I'd go back and you'd be like, what the hell, Jono? Why would someone do that to you? I'll share those stories with you one day. Maybe. Possibly. I gotta try and find a way of context of making it so that you guys get entertained. Because, you know, I don't want to make you guys feel upset or sad. And the last thing I want is for you guys to feel pity for me. Because despite all of what other people have done, I've never lost my ability to laugh or treat others kindly. And I found an absolutely wonderful person. So, yeah. Okay, this is spoilers, but in one of the books I'm writing, Arista, one of the characters is going to reach their lowest point of the story. The main character, they're going to reach their lowest point. And they're going to look at Arista and they're going to say, you know, like, why is it that you can keep smiling? Like, why don't you ever give up? And she's going to look at him and say, because true strength is not letting the world take away your kindness. I live by that, though. When I wrote that like 5 years ago, I said to myself, damn, these are words to live by. So no matter what happens, I don't want anyone to take away my ability to be kind. At least you can laugh at those now. Exactly. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Okay. You have an eye take care of the situation and to make it look like an accident for the boy's sake. It naturally all goes off fairly quickly and successfully. It's barely even noticed. After all, one accidental death of an average citizen is compared to thousands dying on the front lines with the G every day. After a funeral, again to keep up their appearances for the boy, and a trip back to the surface, Jennifer returns to Apex with Marcus, who is taking his father's death pretty well, though you imagine Jennifer has probably been trying to mold the boy to her liking. As for your other promises to Jennifer, you aren't really sure how to proceed, mainly because you don't really have much to do for her to do. You already have your official advisors in general and the like. To be honest, Jennifer was probably serving you well enough as a propaganda outlet, with her museum constantly promoting Empire values, history and such. So you leave her to continue such work. She still owns the museum, of course, but has somebody else run it now. In the meantime, she works on the thing that originally brought her back to you in the first place, her new book. Of course, this involves several sessions of her asking you some questions and going over the book's contents. And sure enough, you and Jennifer do experience a bit of a rekindled closeness during such time. It's not the same as it was, and you'll never feel as strongly for her as you did for Allison, but you've learned to enjoy the moments again, if only because of the G problems dominating most of your thoughts and blocking out the constant pain in your body is making up for the rest. In a couple of weeks, you receive word from one of your scientists that in order to work on the disease to kill the G, experiments are going to have to be done on captured G. Naturally, you agree that a few forces can be sent aside for capture missions and think nothing more of it. When you briefly mention this to Jennifer, she has another perspective on the situation. Experiments on the G, huh? Sure, that's a good idea, Jennifer asks. Well, I'd rather that our armies just focus on killing them, but if capturing a few of them is going to lead to something that'll eventually kill all of them, then I'm for it. Don't worry, every precaution is going to be in place for our scientists. That's not what I mean. I mean, are you sure they should just be experimenting on the G? Who else would they be experimenting on? Well, our own people for one. How do we know this germ or whatever is going to just affect the G? I had an opportunity to read copies of some of these notes that the gnomes left while I've been up here in the Apex, and maybe your other people missed something, but I got the impression that the gnomes were planning to design something that wasn't just going to wipe out the G. It's odd, but that had completely slipped your mind. You figured the gnomes were just going to bomb you out of existence or something similar. Makes sense if they planned biological warfare on a grand scale for the G, they'd certainly do it for the Empire as well. That's a good thinking. So you believe we should, what, round up some folks for experimentation, you ask? Well, it couldn't hurt. I mean, we don't want to release something that's going to kill us all, Jennifer replies. Well, okay, I'll let them know immediately to start emptying out the prisons for this sub-project. Pretty sure there's more than enough for a good diverse mix of the population. You think? Well, mostly humans, but thanks to their violent personalities, there's more than enough kobold and orc criminals in the prison system. What about the elves? Dunno. They don't tend to last long in prison from what I've heard. I guess we'll take our chances if we don't have a lot. I'm sure we'll be fine. Famous last words. You thank Jennifer, who is happy that you're pleased with her, and begins discussing some parts of her booking in. Year 564. Jeez, we're getting old! You look over your balcony and stare at the grand view of the surface below. The G have been starting to establish great hills of earth where a central hive is located. This is a good thing, since it makes targeting key locations a lot easier. Small porcelain bombs of infection meant for the G are going to be dropped from the airships. Anywhere the G are greatly located. There are even kobold commandos that will be doing their best to deliver the disease more directly. Turned out the little scalies were more resistant to the disease in the first place. It all rides on this plan, and you certainly hope it will work. Jennifer comes to see you and holds your hand. As gentle as she is, you feel a sharp ache going up your arm, causing a slight recoil of it. Damn it, I used to be so young and strong once. Now I'm just this old bag of broken bones, you remark. You're the Emperor, Jennifer says. Well, for now anyway. Won't be long before that won't be the case. Just hope this plan works, so I'll be remembered, if only for a little while longer. Of course it will work. You flash a smile at Jennifer, who smiles back. In silence, the pair of you watch as the airships in the distance drop its plague bombs on the G Hill before returning back inside. Weeks pass and continue to receive steady reports of large numbers of dead G bodies being found, and the G attacks dropping off completely in places. The plague has worked. Better yet, you're not reporting reports of mass sickness from your own people. Well, there have been reports of your elven citizens suddenly getting sick, but you can't save everyone. Oh my goodness, are we wiping out the elves as well? Wait, so the only ones left will be the humans, orcs, and kobolds? It's still a long road ahead to rebuild the massive damage the G did. But this is a positive step in the right direction. Jennifer's book, Eternal Leader, which has been released shortly before the bug bombing, suddenly sees an increase in popularity and sales. Celebrating good fortune all around, you officially make Jennifer your consort, making her very happy, which technically makes her son, your heir. You don't have much time to teach him the ins and outs of rulership. In fact, in your condition, you can't even teach him the art of combat or magic. But Jennifer had him enrolled in military school shortly after she made her home in Apex. You've barely even seen the boy, so you're guessing he'll be okay in that department. After all, it isn't like the old days now. Combat is becoming an increasingly non-personal affair. How you defeated the G is proof of that. Plus, Jennifer will probably do her best to guide him. She's already proven adept in the advisory role. You don't know how long you have left in this world, but you think you'll be taking it easy for a while. And why the hell not? You're the Emperor! The epilogue, we made it! We made it to the end! We made it to the end! Okay, so we rekindled our love with Jennifer, took a stepson who's going to be our heir, we removed all the threats, and we're going to retire. We got a good ending. How rare. How rare indeed. Okay, saving. Epilogue. Man, there were 13 different endings, by the way. Imagine how different the story would have gone if we'd stuck with the Emperor and gone to the island of necromancers. Like, the entire time skip section would be completely different. That's so cool. I love these choose your own stories because I'm so tempted to like go back and see what happened. Okay, refresh. Epilogue. My voice is also very close to giving out. We've been going at this for like 2.5 hours now. Okay. Eternal. How surprising. Yeah. Eternal Hero. Year 566. I'd like a sneak peek into those different choices. Yeah. Let me quickly post the link to it. Here we go. Just so you guys can check it out in your own time as well. So I'll just post it in chat here. There you go. Okay. Epilogue. 566. So we're 66 years old. You lie on your bed struggling to remain conscious, but this is it. You aren't winning this battle, and with as much as you hurt, it'll be a relief. Your bed is surrounded by those loyal to you, like the Sightmaster Cowley and Colonel Renly. You're sure David would be here too if he hadn't died a year ago. Those that love you like Jennifer are also here, but then, after your victory over the G, everyone loves you. Even at this late stage, it still doesn't seem real sometimes. All your life, you were mostly feared, hated, respected, or admired, but loved only by a few. Now, at the end of your life, you've got an entire nation that loves you. You're not just their ruler, you're a hero that saved them from certain extinction against several enemies, not just the G. You turned a stagnant republic into a powerful nation. You expanded its territories. You fended off enemies from the sea, from under the earth, and even the sky. You did this by taking the lead and never letting go of it. You just suddenly arrived, like you were placed in this time for that exact reason. Nobody in the minds of the people could do the things that you did. Maybe they're right. Your life was one long struggle from beginning to end. But in general, you persevered against all odds. You can hear the soft cries of Jennifer. You'd like to open your eyes just so she could look at them one last time, but you're slipping away fast. You will have no more last words. In your final moments, a wave of peace washes over you, and for a brief second, your body ceases to feel pain. You also see a clear image of Allison in your mind, looking just as she did when you first met her. She seems so real now that you almost think you can touch her. Everything goes black. Your body is kept entombed in a lavish mausoleum in Apex. Naturally, lots of statues of you are located there, but statues of you are pretty much all over the Empire, and thanks to Jennifer's book, which reinforces your cult of personality even after your death, you're revered to the point of near godhood. As for the Empire itself, Marcus does not take the throne as Jennifer considers him still too young and needs to learn, and it is decided that he will take to the throne at a more appropriate age. In the meantime, Sightmaster Cowley takes over and more or less does a fine job, though his reign is short due to Marcus's officially taking over in a few more years. To his credit, Cowley continues to be a loyal eye and does not plot any sort of coup of any kind. Marcus, with the guidance of his mother and others, proves to be a competent leader, but he's not you, and in the centuries that the Empire continues to exist, nobody ever is. Leaders, rulers, tyrants, and visionaries all come and go, and there is only ever one true hero, and that fact lasts even after the Empire finally does collapse and becomes something new, as all things eventually do. Long after the others have been forgotten, long after the land has changed politically and geographically, you are still remembered and read about, if only for your heroic deeds rather than your ruthless ones. Stories get embellished, changed, and added onto even today, making it seem like you're even nobler than you really were. History has remembered you in a positive light that even you would not agree with. But as they say, history is dominated by the victorious. One thing is certain, you were and always shall be eternal. We got the good ending! We had a villainous start and a heroic ending. The fact that the author specifically goes out of their way to say here that we will be remembered in a positive light means that there could be stories where we're basically recorded as a demon in history. Let's go! Yeah! Oh, that's great. I'm happy with that. I'm so glad we took a villain protagonist and became a hero. All it required was becoming a home wrecker. Oh my goodness. Wow, that was great. Okay, let me go to. Oops, sorry, turn that on. There we go. Oh, my throat is finished. Yeah, congrats. See you next time. Yeah. So what that means is that next week Sunday, we'll play a game with the community, like one of those like Jackbox games or something along those lines, so that you guys can play along with us. Yeah, because I want the community nights to also be fun with you guys. But I'm really glad you enjoyed this, and yeah, we finished it. Your narration was great. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I would love to do this again. There's also that zombie survival game as well, that zombie survival story. But let's take a small break from this. Maybe in December we'll pick up another choose your own adventure story. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, before we go, I have a couple of updates I want to give you. I'm going to be playing a collab this week with Azel, Araku, and Terrence. We're going to be playing 7 Days to Die. It might be in the middle of the day, because they're Araku and Zel are in like the Asian time zone. So if I go live in the middle of the day, you'll know why. I think it's on the 11th, so Saturday. Yeah, I'll be doing 2 streams on Saturday. Okay, so I will see you guys on Tuesday for the movie nights. We're going to continue watching Shadow House, I think. So yeah, see you guys. Have a fantastic week. Take care. Love you all. And let me give you a wave before I go.